January 26, 2026 to order. The City of Dawson Creek acknowledges that we are privileged to live and work on Treaty 8 territory in the traditional home. Oh, did my mic turn off? Thank you. Hello. Got you a little gift here for your brother. Hold on. This one's for you here. There you go. Do you want to get that picture out? Just got cookies and the grapes are way better than.
Come here. Neveah, we're gonna get a picture. Come here.
She's sitting in the delegation.
Everything right there. Let's get a picture first. Hold it. You guys want? Oh. Does everybody want to come up for this one, or? Sure. Yeah, we might as well get all the council up. Strawberries on there.
Thank you.
Whoa.
Whoa,
that's awesome.
Oh my goodness.
Very cool.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my.
Look there.
Okay, we're gonna take a picture. Hold up your stuffy.
Look in here. Ready? Are you looking? Up here.
Neveah, look. Look at the camera.
She's too busy.
Right? I don't blame her.
Oh, let's see.
Right?
Closing it? Let's see.
You want one, Rob?
Oh, look, it's got a little
Okay.
princess. That's pretty neat.
It's very
Back
cool.
in the box. There you go. We look at the picture. You want to look there?
Okay, look. Can you say cheese?
You had a window.
Congratulations.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Yeah, thank you. She's a doll.
You got it. Congratulations. Yeah.
She's such a wonderful little soul. Yeah. Very cool. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So is that part of your collection you have in your bedroom?
Yeah. Councillor Parslow was a little upset because he thought that was for him, so.
Oh, you dirty dog.
All right, 2.2, we have Michele Mobley with the Executive Director with the Dawson Creek Literacy Society in attendance regarding the proclamation to declare January 25th to February 1st, 2026 as Family Literacy Week in Dawson Creek. So, morning. Nice to see you. Good. Wonderful that you're here. It's always nice when you look at the agenda and you're like, oh, perfect.
Michelle's
Yeah, exactly. Good way to start the Monday. All right. Whereas Family Literacy Week is to be held across Canada and throughout British Columbia from January 25th to February 1st, 2026. And whereas improving the reading, writing, and other essential skills of all people in British Columbia is vital to the social and economic development of the province. And whereas literacy in all its forms directly impacts the ability of people in British Columbia to improve their quality of life, earn sufficient income, participate in learning, and fully engage with their communities. And whereas family plays a strong role in the literacy development of their children, and whereas family literacy programs promote a solid foundation of literacy and lifelong learning, providing opportunities for children and families to learn together. And whereas the theme for Family Literacy Week 2026, Make Mealtime Family Learning Time, encourages families to build literacy skills by connecting learning to everyday mealtime routines. Now therefore, I, Darcy Dober, Mayor of the City of Dawson Creek, do hereby proclaim January 2026 as Family Literacy Week in the City of Dawson Creek and encourage all citizens to join me in this worthy observance. So, yeah, I mean, just thank you. Yeah,
Well, thank you.
for what you do for the community, for families. You know, it's yeah, I definitely, being in this role, I got to learn a lot about what you do, and yeah, it's just it's amazing. It helps our community be a better place. It helps youth and families, and
Yeah.
so yeah, so thank you.
Thanks so much for your support.
Yeah, you're welcome. I do have was there any words that you wanted to add or anything you wanted to say? I do have a.
Oh,
Thank you if you-
no,
no?
that's okay.
Yeah.
I think you've covered it all.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I will just sign this here if I have a pen. There we go. All right.
Awesome.
Two cameras to look at this
I
morning.
know, we're so popular.
Yeah, exactly. It's really nothing to do with us. It's that little baby that was in the little box.
That's right, I know. We have to, that's a lot to compete with.
Yeah, no, exactly. Thank you
Thanks
very
so
much.
much.
all
Have a great day.
You too, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. We could have nothing that'll be more important than that today. We should just call it.
Yeah, I'm good at that. Great start, end to the day, perfect.
Budgets.
Yeah, should have said that before Neveah left though, because I'd rather played with her all morning. All right, next order of business, 2.3. We were supposed to have a presentation from the BC SPCA, but that was canceled, so we're past that. I'll vary the agenda and we'll deal with 2.4 later. So next is 3, the 2025 strategic priority chart. There's no updates on this one, but anything from Kevin? Any questions from council? No? All right. Next late item. Sorry, there is a late item, so just going to add a budgetary item under mayor's business. So I just need a motion that council authorizes a late item to be added to the closed meeting agenda under the authority of the community charter, section 91J, information that is prohibited or information that if it were presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. And section 91K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are at their preliminary stages and that, in the view of council, could reasonably be expected to harm the interest of the municipality if they were held in public. So, Councillor MacDonald, second. Councillor Sudnick. Any questions? No, I'll call that to vote. Vote is closed, and that's carried. Thank you. All right, next, new councillor business 5.1. We have memo from Councillor MacDonald regarding the 2026 PNWER Annual Summit held in Edmonton, Alberta, July 19th to the 23rd, 2026. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to move the council authorize 2 city representatives to attend the 2026 Pacific Northwest Economic Region PNWER Annual Summit and Economic Development Conference in Edmonton, Alberta from July 19 to 23, 2026.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Second, Councillor Sudnick. Discussion.
Other than, what's in the background information there, the PNWER conference moves around throughout 4 states, United States, BC, Alberta, into the Yukon, and even into Alaska. And with it being in Edmonton this year, this gives us a great opportunity to attend a very valuable conference on the economic stability of the Northwest and partnership with our southern neighbors and our eastern neighbors. And this is the most opportune time for us to attend and be a part with it being so close in Edmonton.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor Earl.
I was gonna ask, no, that's fine, I'm sorry.
You're good? Okay. Any other discussion? Yes. No? All right, I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed, and it's carried. Any other new councillor business? Oh, Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to, I was happy to attend on behalf of the Mayor and Council last week, the Paracup thank you event for the volunteers and sponsors that took place at the Co-op Mercer Hall. And I just wanted to once again convey my appreciation to all of the volunteers and sponsors and stakeholders that helped make the event as successful as it was. It was a lovely night, and appreciate the work of the event center staff in putting it together.
Perfect. Thanks, Councillor Earl. Thanks for attending as well. Any other new councillor business? No? All right. Next, 6, adoption of minutes. 6.1 minutes of regular meeting of council on January 12th, 2026 for adoption. Councillor Sednick, second Councillor Kemp. Call that to vote. Councillor Parslow. Vote is closed, and that's carried. Any business arising? Oh, all right. Next, 8 correspondence. 8.1 letter from Lori Wilson, Director, Independence Networking Service, received on January 13th, 2026, regarding a letter of support for the City of Dawson Creek's to submit grant application for a situation table. 8.1 and 8.2 are very similar letters, so if somebody wanted to combine the two for a recommendation, that's fine. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, I was wondering if we can move to have 8.1 and 8.2 brought forward for discussion at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. Second, Councillor Sednick. Call that to vote. Vote is closed, and that's carried. Councillor Earl.
I'm just curious as to what prompted these letters to be sent. Are we in the midst of applying for grants, or is it just, did we ask for letters of recommendation, or is it unsolicited, or?
I'm not sure. I don't have the answer to
Just
that.
curious for them both to show up at the same time. I'm not sure if through staff we've been coordinating with someone, or somebody else on council has been doing it, but I'm happy to have the discussion. I know the previous iterations of these entities, if it's the same kind of thing, which I get the sense that we're very well appreciated at the time as we were trying to get a handle on, better supports for those struggling with homelessness and various mental health and substance abuse disorder stuff and public disorder, and it brought everyone together at the table so that they were making time between social workers, between nonprofits, between law enforcement, between medical staff, between ourselves at the city, our people. So yeah, I was just curious as to whether or not there was a specific ask with respect to us submitting something, because this is the first I've heard of it. So,
Yeah. Thank you. I know there is a few councillors that sit on that, so maybe Councillor Parslow, maybe add a bit to it.
Yeah, so as you know, situation tables have been around for quite some time in many communities, but not this community. Situation table is simply, as was just mentioned, it brings parties together and is triggered when an agency becomes very concerned about the well-being of an individual, that in spite of their efforts, they see that person heading to a deeper malaise in their life, suicide, whatever. And so the situation tables have been doing well in many communities, and the one in Fort St. John, I think, has been operational for about 3 years. Confidentiality is a critical ingredient of a situation table. And people have to be trained. So some background to something that my colleague asked about. I was approached again about, well, what is the city doing? I talked to Devon, and Devon's pretty well on top of this, and he shared with me that it required agencies within the community to make a request of council. It is only council that can request the funding for this. The funding comes from the Department of Solicitor General, and it's there to ensure that the situation table functions properly, proper record keeping. They provide all the software, etc., etc. It is not something that the city runs. It is not an addition to the operating budget. It is purely a table where agencies, government operations meet and follow the required protocols, etc., and see how they can work better to support this individual that's in crisis.
Excellent.
So I'm not putting Devon in the spot here, but Devon did remind me that it required letters of support. So I got hold of INS, and I believe INS got hold of the Narrative.
Okay.
As you know, one of the problems within this community, and I'm going to say many communities, we have a lot of organizations somewhat overlapping. Many of them are just overwhelmed with social issues.
Yeah.
And so this would be something that would help perhaps bring all the resources together to try to help one person at a time. And if we have success with half a dozen people, we've made the community possibly safer, but we've also helped some individuals. And so that's all I have to say about it. You might recall that when the Homeless Committee made the presentation, this was one of their top asks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Councillor Earl?
So then I guess what would be the next step? I mean, they've asked us, they're in favor of creating a situation table, and they'd like us to support a grant application, or they would support if we were to apply for grants, but it's not something that we can start or manage. It's something we're hands off with. So what action is required from us?
The action is, as outlined there, the city must apply
Okay.
for the grant, and then once the grant is received by the city, then the next step is probably somebody associated with the one of the organizations would convene the training, and the cost of that training would be borne from the funds.
The grant.
From time to just, I know the RCMP have a presence at the situation table in most places. In some places, it's the RCMP on behalf of the local government that's made the application. Once the training has been given, then the situation table rolls by itself.
Mm-hmm.
I understand meetings are monthly, and I understand that usually there's just one subject at a time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Thanks, Councillor Earl. Kevin, did you or Devin have any information on this, or is that?
Through your worship. Yes, I guess my biggest concern is if indeed the table would run on its own, and just how much involvement to lead and manage the table or that group would be required by the city. So those are some things that I definitely would want to just fully understand. I mean, that's we've talked internally about a situation table, or I guess we were aware of it. Concerns were just on how to resource and manage it. But listening to Councillor Parslow, he indicates that it may have a bit of a life of its own once it's established. I would just want to understand what resources may be required from our side. And Devin, I don't know if you've got anything to add. I know he's had some conversations and done a little bit of research into it as well, if he does. But
Thank you, Kevin.
Through your worship, yeah, I could just add that the funding is from the Ministry of Public Safety and Solicitor General's Office of Crime Reduction and Gang Outreach. And so that would be the ministry that would be applying for the funding. The letters of support, 100% are part of that. Local governments and First Nations are the only ones that can apply. And we would be managing that funding for the community as it goes forward.
So we would just manage the funding and then, from what you understand now?
I'm unclear on exactly how that would work, but like Kevin mentioned, I think we need to get a better understanding once we go through the process with the ministry to understand how that fits.
Okay. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to move that we have city staff reach out to INS and Nawakin for some more solid details about the function of the situation table, its management, and specific grants it would like us to apply for on their behalf.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Second, Councillor Apollonio.
I would just like to say I fully support INS and Nawakin and the startup of a situation table in the community. I have attended multiple meetings with these groups. There's been multiple attempts to get this off the ground. They just need a little bit of help with focus and leadership. I think there's potential for us to help them get started and then be very hands-off. I agree with CEO Henderson that we just need a little bit more solid information and sureties before we just move forward.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor Earl?
Yeah, I'm happy to support this motion. The one area of concern I guess I do have, and it kind of echoes the sentiments expressed by Kevin and Councillor MacDonald, is previous attempts to not necessarily do a situation table, but something similar to a situation table have, they start off strong, and then because it is a lot of these nonprofits are dependent upon one or two staff members, key people who leaves, there's turnovers, the meetings fall off, something, there's a need for some succession planning and some real infrastructure, whatever you want to call it, in place to ensure that it's not just, it's not dependent upon one or two people from the nonprofit sector who either gets overworked and burn out and leave or what have you. But we've seen this or some version of this take off and kind of peter out a few months within starting a couple times now. So that's one thing I'd want to be mindful of. And then obviously to Kevin's point that if that is the case, it not land back on the city, because as often happens when it comes to things like criminal justice, when it comes to things like the provision of health care, we all feel duty bound as people on the front lines of government to make sure the community isn't going without. So if we're put back in a position where a nonprofit can no longer sustain this service, are we going to say, okay, service ends, that's over, even if we see value in it? I don't know about that. So that's my one concern, and it's a concern, I guess, to look into at another time, but I'm happy to support this motion.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. thank you. Any other discussion? No, I had one, just, would it make sense in the motion to also have included to look in with the ministry to see what the grant is entitled versus, I mean, I think INS and now is great to look into as well, but would it make sense, or do you need some direction to look into that as well?
Through your worship, I was thinking that's something obviously we would get some details from the ministry as well.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay, well, thank you. And yeah, I think the situation tables are great, and we have some phenomenal organizations in our community that help a lot of individuals. So I think anything we can do or look into to assist them, that we need to. So yeah. All right. Oh, Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, but staff and maybe some council members may want to reference the waft of material that was presented to it a year or two ago.
Okay.
Situation table grant at that time was 30,000. Administration of the fund would be the city's responsibility. In some communities, such as Fort St. John, the chair initially was someone associated with urban matters.
Okay.
So a lot of people stepped forward. But, it would be something, if I was asked, I'd certainly chair it or facilitate it for sure. But I certainly, this should not and may not be part of the city operation. It has to be done grassroots. So I wouldn't be, whilst Councillor Earle's concerns are always, no, they're not always valid, but in this case they're valid. I better be careful what I say there. But I don't believe they can, given the terms of what a situation table is about.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, do you feel the need for any direction? Like if, when you look into it, it is just us administering the funds to give that direction now, or would you rather come back to council with this, or what? Because I mean, yeah.
Yeah, through your worship, I think the best thing is gather the information and then we'll come back and just report that out.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other discussion? No, I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. That's carried. Next, 8.3, we have letter from Rotary Clubs of Dawson Creek received on January 15th, 2026 regarding donation request for the 42nd Rotary online auction, March 7th to the 15th, 2026. Thank you, Councillor Earle.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will move that we grant the request from the Rotary with respect to 2 recreation gift cards of $250 each.
Thanks, Councillor Earle. Second, Councillor Sudnick. Any discussion?
Other than to say, anybody who's in this town for any amount of time sees the great work the Rotarians do, and this is one of the ways they fund that work. These gift certificates are, even though they do come out of our grant budget, they're not really reflective of a $500 additional cost to the taxpayers because the base cost of running a pool or an ice rink is already there. They do great work, and this is a pretty easy way to support them.
Thanks, Councillor Earle. Any other discussion? No, I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed, and it's carried. Next, 9 reports. 9.1, we have report number 26001 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding Whiskey Pickle Pub liquor license application for increased person capacity. Councillor Earle.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that report number 26-001 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding Whiskey Pickle liquor license application for increased person capacity be received. Further, the Council has considered the location, person capacity, hours of liquor service for the establishment, and the impact on the community, and endorses the comments contained in this report. Further, having received no concerns from residents as a result of the various methods utilized to notify and obtain views of the public, Council supports the increase in capacity to 70 persons, inclusive of patrons and staff.
Thank you, Councillor Earle. Second, Councillor Kemp. Discussion. All right, I'll call this motion to vote. You were good, Councillor Earle?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Vote is closed. That's carried. Next, 9.2, we have report number 26-005 from the Development Service Manager regarding development cost charges and determining municipal assist factors. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to move alternative 1. I'd like to move that we increase the municipal assist factor. Council may choose to increase the municipal assist factor to 15%. Oh, I should read that better. I'm sorry. I'd like to remove that report number 26-005 from the Development Service Manager regarding development cost charges and determining municipal assist factors be received. Further, the council support a 15% municipal assist factor for water and sanitary development cost charges to be included in the draft development cost charge bylaw for future council consideration. Apologies.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. I don't know if your apologies are accepted, but thank you for the motion. Second, Councillor Sudnick. Discussion. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Worship. I believe we've made a couple of movements as a council to promote development in the community. I think having just come back from the Natural Resources Forum, we are looking at a pretty good window here for the next 5 to 7 years where we might see some good development opportunities in this community. And I think having just the same MFA number as Fort St. John in our development costs may just give us that extra attractant for developers to choose Dawson Creek over other communities for their future development projects.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor Parslow.
Well, I noticed some of in the report that a higher percentage could affect property taxes, utility rates, long-term financial planning. It transfers over the life. I think the figure was something million dollars. Let's call it $1.5 million approximately to the taxpayers. I quite frankly think all these efforts pale in the one big economic factor that would drive things is a secure water system, and that we need to be putting all our funds that we do have so that when we have this long-needed secure water source, whatever contributions we might have to make, we have been saving for that. And there may also be tax implications with that secure water line. So I think that takes the dominant picture for me. And I would think that anybody coming to this community would want to be assured that we have secure water. And I think that's the dominant economic development factor. So I don't see it helping much until we get that problem sorted.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. That was all you had. Councillor Parslow? Councillor Parslow, you were done?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I had a couple questions and maybe just some clarification just on some of the numbers that are on here. So, and maybe I just misread, but just on the financial implications going from 10 to 15, I think it was just over $1 million over the life of the DCCs. So I guess one, how long is the life? And then when I look at the one table C, it's only showing about an $800,000 difference from 10 to 15. And I don't know if that's annually. So yeah, just some clarification. And then I guess to go to 20%, what does that mean? Because it doesn't look like the number changes a lot over the life of these. So going from 10 to 20% changes 2.32 million. So I'm just wondering what, I guess maybe the length, what is that referred to?
Yeah, through your worship. I'll see if I can answer them. If I don't, then Bill or Devin can correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
So the first one on the financial implications and the differences. So look at Table B.
Okay.
And that is this, the city's cost. So when Councillor Parslow brought up, and you'll see in their implications of changing under the table. So if you move from 10 to 15%, that increases the city's cost by approximately 1.16. Where if you look at Table C, that is the implications for developers. So that's what the difference in what potential recovery costs look like. So slightly different just based on how it's calculated. The life of the DCC program, I'd have to defer over to these guys to let me know what it's calculated on. I can't remember. Go ahead.
Through your worship. So the life of the DCC bylaw is I guess the life of the projects. Depending on when we do the projects, depends on when we can, how long that bylaw goes. So for instance, the previous bylaw was 2013, I believe, and it's run its course after 13 years. We have completed all the sewer projects. So best practices we're upping and we're re-updating it every 5 years or so. That $10 million is with the current, the $10 million, they say cost to developers it will be over the life of those projects that are in there. And I would think that those projects are probably, depending on the urgency and the need in the community, it could vary as time goes. Hard for me to put a nail on it. I would say probably 5 to 10 year expectancy on that bylaw as it stands.
Okay, thank you. And then, yeah, I'm in favor of the 15%. I just was wondering the 20 as well, like what that would mean. I think this council, we've done some big steps on growth and showing that we're open for business. I just wanted to kind of understand it a little bit more. The other thing Councillor Parslow brought up about water, and that's clearly a thing that we need, and we're committed to moving that forward. So out of DCCs, because they're limited to what, it's for growth, like what portion even could come out of DCCs to help fund a water project? Because some of that's going to be restricted, right?
Yeah. So through your worship, right now, a new water source is not included in these calculations.
Yeah. Okay.
And then if it was, then there would be only a portion that's related to growth.
Yeah.
Those would have to be calculated. The bulk of it would be the requirement, or would be required for the existing community. So that's, got to remember, DCCs are only for growth, not for replacing existing. So that calculation would have to occur, and I don't know what that would look like, but.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was kind of thinking. I just wanted some clarification. So, yeah, so I mean, I'm in favor of 15. I think it makes sense, but I'm also not opposed to moving it up a bit too. Yeah, any other discussion? No? All right, I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. One opposed. Councillor Parslow. All right. Next, 9.3, we have report number 26-008 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding policy amendment, conference attendance, council. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to move the report number 26-008 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding policy amendment, conference attendance be received. Further, that the conference attendance council policy be amended to allow the mayor and up to 4 councillors to attend the annual Growing the North conference. And further, that following the successful completion of the required 30-day review period, the amended conference attendance council policy replace the existing conference attendance council policy.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Second, Councillor Apollonio. A discussion, Councillor Parslow.
Well, I'm generally in support of this, but the question is, what was the thinking behind only 4, not 6 councillors?
I'm thinking it was because the last 2 or 3 years that we've went, it's been that's been the number. It's been 2 to 4 that have went, so I'm assuming that's why it was put in there. Yes, that's why.
I would think if this is such a big deal, local conference, we should allow any elected official to go. It's on our doorstep, minimal costs.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that, and I think we had a report already come to council before with the costs, and then from that, we gave direction to this.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
So I'd like to make an amendment that we strike the word 4 councillors and to 6 councillors.
Mayor and councils.
Yeah, oh yeah,
And
well,
councillor.
mayor's always in, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
No, I was just every word again. I wasn't saying you were excluding me, so.
Well, I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
I talk to my colleagues, we can arrange for that.
All right. So Councillor Parsel will make that amendment second.
Yeah.
Councillor MacDonald. All right, any discussion on the amendment? No? All right, I'll call the amendment to vote. Vote is closed, and that's carried. All right, any discussion on the motion as amended? No, I'll call that to vote. Oh, I will call that to vote again. Oh, sorry. Okay, all right. The third time's the charm. I will call that motion to vote. Motion as amended to vote.
Maybe you should have another coffee or something.
I haven't had one yet. I think that's the problem. Vote is closed. And that flashed, but I was assuming it was carried. Everybody? Yeah. Okay. All right. Next 9.4, we have report number 26-014 from the Parks, Arenas, and Aquatics Manager regarding wheelchair accessible planters. Councillor Kempf.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation, the report number 26-014 from the Parks, Arenas, and Aquatics Manager regarding wheelchair accessible planters be received. Further, that Council authorize the purchase of 2 accessible planters. And finally, that Council direct staff to work with David Johnston to identify suitable installation locations.
Thanks. Councillor Kemp, second. Councillor MacDonald, discussion. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess just a question through to staff. I know when we were initially presented with this, the intent of the delegation was to have the planters maintained by volunteers. I assume either for cost reasons, insurance reasons, or just logistical considerations that isn't viable.
So through your worship, I think what our intent is to work with David to find a location that they would look after the planters. We would simply be facilitating the purchase and delivery and installation, and then it would really be up to the group. We didn't believe it would be reasonable or make sense, I guess, that these planters would be on city property because we have staff that look after them, and so it made sense to go this route and really just provide it to the group and have them install it on some of their maybe private property that makes sense for them.
Okay, so I guess then once it's installed, it's no longer ours. We're giving
That
it
would
and
be
we
our
don't-
intent,
Okay,
yes.
thank you for the clarification.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. I just have one question on this one. I'm in support of this program, and I think it's I think it's great in all aspects. I did mention a while ago that I was up at Rotary Manor, and they've built some of these, and they have a potential partnership with Urban Systems and Northern Lights College at building some more. So, did we look into that, and is there a way to partner with them? I just look at the cost of this is $3,500 each. So is there the opportunity that there's a bigger partnership with those organizations and maybe we can fund the materials? Because they were building them and they built the one up there already. So, Ryan?
Through your worship, we didn't consider that. That I'm going to call it partnership. If that's something that you would wish us to do, we can certainly look at that. and review that with Urban Systems if they're and Northern Lights College. The at the end of the day, if that's what you would like us to do, that it could give them more opportunity to provide more planters for them to do, and we can work with David certainly to see what his perspective is on that as well.
Okay, thanks, Ron. I think Councillor MacDonald had something to.
Thank you, Worship. Based on that statement as well, my initial meeting with Mr. Johnson, there were representatives from Co-op there as well, who suggested they would be willing to donate the materials for a project like this as well. So I agree with the Mayor. There may be opportunities for some good collaboration between Co-op, NLC, Urban Systems for the creation of these, and maybe maximize what we were able to donate to David for his great project. I mean, David does some great things for the community in and around accessibility, et cetera. And I think there's good chances for expansion of this.
Yeah, I agree, and I think too with taking this funding, if we could partner and get more contribution and more even to help with Rotary Manor, that it'd be worth looking at. So, so I guess with that, would we, if we wanted to see that direction, that we looked at a partnership, would you want this motion defeated and a new motion put on the table, or how would we go about that?
Through your worship, would you like to defer the motion until staff comes back with additional information about partnering with Urban, or just to investigate the opportunity to partnership with somebody else?
That would sound fair to me.
We can do that.
Okay, so we need a motion to defer, or we'll need a motion to
A motion to defer until staff can come back with partnership opportunities for these planters.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Councillor MacDonald, second. Councillor Kempf. Any discussion on that deferring? No. And those were the partners that I heard was the Northern Lights College, and I actually did hear the Co-op as well, since Councillor MacDonald said that, and Urban Systems was looking at that support as well. So, okay. All right. Any discussion? No. I'll call that motion to vote. Vote is closed, and that's carried. All right, I'm just going to call a short break here. 2026 back to order. Just going to vary the agenda and deal with 9.5 a little bit later, but 10 bylaws, 10.1 report number 26-013 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding 2026 revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw number 4619-2025 for consideration of adoption. I guess one, just before we go, the reason why I was varying it, just so everybody's aware, is we've just got some confirmation on our PRA funding for 2026. So we're just waiting for a little bit more details back to what that looks like, and there's potential we'll get it this morning. So we just want to vary this for a bit to see if we get that confirmation. So that's why I was varying it. So back to 10.1, Councillor MacDonald.
Hey, Your Worship, I'd like to move the report number 26-013 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding 2026 revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw number 4619-2025 be received. Further, that 2026 revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw number 4619-2025 be adopted.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Second, Councillor Apollonio. Discussion? No? I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, 11 Mayor's Business updates. So I just wanted to bring up the NCLGA resolutions. Councillor MacDonald just reminded me about this last week, but just the deadline for this is March 13th, 2026. So we should just start thinking about it, and maybe over the next couple council meetings, we should, if there's any resolutions that council would like to move forward to the NCLGA, we should bring those forward in the next bit. Open Door, had an Open Door a few weeks ago, just continuing to do those once a month, and just, giving a a set time when basically my door is open for any of our community members to come in and speak. Although the door is open most days or all the time, but this is just kind of a set day that we're doing monthly. Also attended the Northern Lights College International Student Welcome, so I always enjoy anything really at Northern Lights College, and I get the opportunity to go there. But I was there a few weeks ago to welcome the new international students. It was great. It was a great morning. Got to meet quite a few, answer some questions, speak about the city stuff. So it was really good. So. As well as physician, had a few things actually. We had a physician and retention meeting and also a housing subcommittee meeting. And then there was a physician and family appreciation event that was held at the Kin Sports floor a few Sundays ago. And I just, before I touch on it a little bit, I wanted to thank the Dawson Creek Co-op for their sponsorship with this, the South Peace Division of Family Practice. Kathy for her commitment to help with this as well. There's lots of back and forth. And Councillor MacDonald and myself attended from the city, and also want to thank the city team that was down at the facility. They were extremely welcoming and great hosts. So a thank you to them. And then really, lastly, I want to thank the physicians and their families that attended. So there must have been, this is a guess, but around 50 people that attended, and it was phenomenal just to see the families out there. And, it was a couple hours of playing sports, and we got a physician I won't name, and maybe some children that could have some future in basketball. It was just fun. There was volleyball, basketball, pickleball, soccer, and everybody was out there being active, and it was great to see the facility being used that way, but also just great to really get the physicians and their families together and just show our appreciation to them. And lots of amazing things from the event, but one that I really hit home to me was the regional aspect, how we've been very focused on things that we're doing is not just for the betterment of the city of Dawson Creek, but for our region. And it wasn't just physicians from our community there. It was very regional, and it was phenomenal to see, to meet some of the physicians from Tumbler Ridge and Chetwynd. It was just great, and it was great to meet a few and see the ones that I've built relationships with. So, it was phenomenal. And then actually afterwards, we just went upstairs, and there was a bit of a lunch. And then the facility was open to the public for their normal scheduled events. And there was still there probably was another 20 people out there playing all different,
Came in real fast.
Volleyball, pickleball. Yeah, they were waiting for us to finish up. It was like, okay, can you guys hurry up and move on? But just great. It was great in all aspects. So just a thank you to anybody. If I missed anybody that helped organize that, just thank you. And and thanks for this council too for continuing to support this. It's starting to really, being involved in the recruitment and retention committee and the housing meeting. And with the South Peace Division, we're really starting to see some medical wins for our community, and it's taken some time, but it's really this council's direction to move forward on some things. But we're starting to see some significant wins and some hope, which it's really nice, and it's nice to see that the South Peace Division works extremely hard for our region, and that's the best part, to see the wins for them, because they put in so much effort. And I mean, ultimately all of our residents benefit, but it's just nice to see their excitement and it pay off for their efforts and hard work. At a meeting at the Dawson Creek and District Hospital, this was a week or two ago, just for naming of the hospital and subnaming and stuff. So we had a meeting about that a few weeks ago. There's another one coming up in February where it's a bit of a workshop with a couple of First Nations. Myself, the regional district sits on that. So just kind of moving forward with that. Another note, I did drive by the hospital on the weekend too, and it's sure coming along quick. It looks phenomenal and it's moving quick. So, Ministry of Transportation, we had a meeting with them. We requested one for UBCM with the staff meeting, and they couldn't accommodate that at UBCM, so we had it here with 3 of their members, 1 from Fort St. John, 2 from the city of Dawson. So there was a lot of discussion. We went over a lot of different things, Alaska 8th Street, rural roads, contracts, snow removal, sidewalk clearing. There was a bit of takeaway stuff from that they're going to look into, crosswalks. There was numerous things we talked about. I can't remember. I know Councillor MacDonald, who else? Yeah, Councillor MacDonald and myself were there. So I just wanted to thank them for coming in. It's always, for me, those are always good opportunities to advocate for things, but it's also the education part and just the learning part I really enjoy, because you get to understand a little bit more from both sides. So that's good. BC Natural Resource Forum attended last week with Councillor MacDonald and Councillor Sudnick. So I just had a brief update. I do want to just thank Councillor Sudnick and Councillor MacDonald for their commitment down there. And there's a lot of effort that goes into going to these conferences, like we're well aware of. But I just want to thank both of you for your time down there. And it's you definitely go above and beyond the call, and when you're down there, it's clear that you're down there for our community. And so I just want to thank you both, and for all avenues of it. So thank you. But there was a lot that went on there. Lots of industry stuff. Lots of ministers from the government. There was a strong government presence there. I don't know how many ministers were there, but it was probably around 10, plus MLAs, and the Premier was there as well. Lots of a talk about the way that the world economics are, and the things that BC's doing to move forward. There was a lot of positive stuff, and there's been some results over last year, so that's good to see. And lots of talk, like Councillor MacDonald mentioned earlier, like the next 5 to 7 years could be, we could see a spike in some things up here. We were hearing that quite clear down there, and that wasn't from government, that was from industry and trade show and individuals we were talking to. And with that too, we did meet with the Premier while we were down there. So we've been trying hard to get a meeting with the Premier just to talk about the water. So we found out a bit before that he did have time for us. So we had a meeting with him. Councillor MacDonald, Sudnick, myself, and Kevin came down for that. And it was it felt like a productive meeting. He was well aware of our water situation, and we kind of just asked, we didn't have real clear asks. Our ask is that we need to move this forward, and we need some guidance from the province, and that was clear. And all indications seem that they're on the same page as that, and they want to help push it forward. So that was kind of the start of. Well, not even the start, because we've been at this for a while, but it was our first meeting with him, so it was good to see. So, and a good meeting. Media interviews. I had a few interviews in the last few weeks. Some on the Koi Cup, one based on our meeting with the Premier, water, budget. So just had those over the last week. And I think that's all I had for Mayor's updates. Any questions on any of those? Councillor Parslow?
It just occurred to me with the item NCLGA resolutions and the BC Natural Resources Forum, what has been shared here. And I would just an idea, given the connectivity in the north around economic development and transportation and so on, if it would be in order, as we think about resolutions, to seek a resolution of support for the city's quest to have a funding from the government for a secure water line. If the combined, let's say, collective of the northern municipalities help us get behind it, I wonder if that would even be a positive. Just a thought. The other topic that you raised around the Physicians and Families Appreciation event did spawn another. It's not a question to you, perhaps, and maybe you want to say no, asked it later, but it's a bit of a curved ball toss towards Ryan here. We have these punch cards for recreation, which is a great idea, and people are using it. Why are people who don't have a punch card but have a year-round pass for access to the Ken Barrett Aquatic Arena be given the same privilege? I don't see why someone who with a punch card for 10 swims and then they can use it somewhere else. Has there been any consideration for people who have a year pass?
Kind of like a community membership, where a membership that you can use every.
Well, I think the only place that has a year pass is the swimming pool. But I don't want an answer. I'm just throwing it out for Ryan to think about that. And the last thing, again, I appreciate these updates, right? And there's one matter that I really, I don't necessarily expect it on this update. Okay, don't get me wrong here. But if I may ask, I believe at a last council meeting or before, if not certainly in discussions, we wanted to talk about the, what I wrote down here, the future development of our airport and some dialogue with the college. Now, I know there's been some dialogue, but I think there needs to be a more formal dialogue and brainstorming of ideas, and we put that as an agenda item for a future meeting with the president of the college, because I think there's some exciting ideas that I think my comfort zone around airport is fairly strong as it is, but I do know that I think there's lots of opportunities that I've heard of, and I would like to have some formal discussions. And I don't know if there was a resolution at our last council meeting, but there certainly has been some discussion.
Yeah, we've had
so
a lot
haven't seen any follow-up there, but I think I think we should push this forward for a February meeting if possible.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Barzil. Okay. Yeah, there's something coming soon on that, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, no real questions, but I just wanted to share how great it was to be at the sports floor for the doctor's appreciation event there. It was really nice just to see that community within our community and how supportive all the doctors and their families are of each other and how they interact. And it just was truly amazing. It is so nice to see how amazing they are as a community, but their true appreciation of the efforts being put forth for the appreciation of them. Honestly, the efforts by Cheryl and Marina on the day to just have just a wonderful day of community celebration, interaction, get them out of the everyday humdrum, right, to bring them together further was really, really nice. And I appreciated seeing it, and also appreciated the opportunity to be involved. It was really amazing. And then on the Natural Resources Forum, it was a really good forum this year. I knew you were going to speak about it here in your mayor's business, but I just wanted to say that the excitement and potential we have in the next 5 to 7 years interacting with government, interacting with our local industry leaders, it's exciting. I think there's a potential for the next 5 to 7 years to be really prosperous for the community in the region, and it is quite obvious the recognition of how important the North and specifically the Northeast is going to be on the recovery of the economy in BC and the recovery of the economy in Canada. It was really great to interact with everybody and get the chance to build our relationships and just get that information. So really looking forward to the next 5 to 7 years.
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. And that just reminded me something about the event too at the Kin Sport Flooring. But the general consensus from pretty much everybody that was there is that they'd like to do it again. Like they really enjoyed it and had a good time. So yeah, it was good. So yeah. Yeah, and a lot of, I don't touch too much on the numbers actually, but maybe I will, just sitting on that retention recruitment committee with Councillor Sudnick as well. But when we started on that, I think there was about 9 physicians, I believe it was, in our community. And I currently, don't quote me on this, but we're around that 16 or 17 number with more coming this year. So we're really not where we need to be, but there's been a lot of steps taken to secure healthcare for the South Peace region, and their efforts are, it's working. Like we're starting to see the win from it. So yeah, there's lots of exciting things that could be coming potentially. So it's good. So all right, any other questions? No more, Councillor Parslow?
No, but I do, this talk about the sports floor, I consistently hear how great the staff are there.
Yeah.
How accommodating. And some of the literature that Ryan's group have put out, like the schedule and some of the things, programming, they're all doing a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
It really adds to the quality of life.
He's waiting for the 5.
Yeah.
But Ryan.
No, I've been in there a few times, and I'm not just saying this, but even on that event, the 2 team members that were in there, like they went out of their way to come and introduce themselves to everybody, and really, like they were good hosts. It was good. So yeah, thank you. All right, next order of business 12, Chief Administrative Officer operational updates.
All right, good morning. Just a couple quick ones. You may see in your consent calendar just the departmental reports. Just one thing, just kind of note. We've talked about the pool finally getting up to full staff and 7 days a week in operation. In that report, you'll see that our attendance has been climbing year after year since dropped off during 2020 pandemic. So we are now up to, for 2025, 97,000 folks attended the pool, which has got us back to where we were, 2015, 2016 levels. So that's great to see.
And that's being closed for a couple months, because back then it was probably just a month we were closed.
That's right. Yeah.
So
So numbers are strong. So it's great to see.
Good.
Just a quick update on water. Watershed staff were out in the watershed last week. Did a bit of a snow survey, check flows. And so some positive news is that the snowpack in the watershed is greater than what we have left here in the community, so that's good. Obviously, there was some melt and whatnot, but not to the same levels that we see here in town or around town. So I think they noted that there's still well over 40 centimeters of snowpack on the river where they were. And the flows on the one branch that they were on were, just the one branch was exceeding our daily consumption. So that's positive as well. So things are holding, reservoirs are full. So we're in a good spot right now.
Perfect.
That's all I've got for today.
Thanks, Kevin. Any questions? Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to agree with you on the pool. Reading that report, it is very exciting. Mm-hmm. Honestly, seeing the attendance numbers back up and such high usage, right? And even with the weather in December, it seemed like our numbers fell off in December. not as many people were able to get there with the roads and everything else. But I truly believe we probably could have broken 100,000 this year without that weather in December. This year's planned closure for the pool, is it back down to 1 month, or are we still at 2 months moving forward?
I'll let Ryan.
Through your worship to Councillor MacDonald, it's 1 month.
1 month now again? And will it be like that for the next few years, now that we've caught up on the grouting and that?
Maybe, it depends. I think as we go through the condition assessment, right, and see how the grout and the stuff, but, we're looking between, every 5 to 7 years that we need to do the longer shutdown period for the maintenance. The other thing in consideration that we're looking at, which we're in the early stages of, is the lighting within the Ken Bourque Aquatic Center needs to be upgraded, and so that may either work out the timing in terms of that cycle of 5 to 7 years, but the lighting and to trying to get to the lighting and replacing and all that will be a large.
You can't walk on water?
Can't walk on water. Yeah.
Fly a drone up there.
By drone. And the other thing I wanted to say was thanks to Denali for their community-supported swims. They're very well attended, and it's a great piece of community support by a great local company. Super appreciate it.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Any other questions? No. Thanks, Kevin. Next 13 diary, nothing in the diary. 14 consent calendar. I know there's one, it may be just a motion to lift, I guess, number 3, the letter from Chair Sperling with the Peace River Regional District on Masqua. Somebody second it, Councillor Sudnick. I'll call that to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. I just wanted to talk a little bit, maybe those that don't know, but the medical services for the Masqua Medical Center in Grand Prairie. So there is a group of individuals from Grand Prairie in that region that are building a medical center to assist in healthcare. It's pretty phenomenal what they're doing. So I don't know. There's some cross-border stuff that we're working on right now, and most of that is with the provinces, just on cross-education and how that could work. But I know the regional district, we've had a few presentations from them on potential partnerships and sponsoring it and supporting it. But there is could be a pretty big win. It's a huge win for the region for this to go in there. But I don't know what council's thought are on maybe going over there and having, a meeting with them or inviting them here to a delegation. The one thing is, if we did invite them here, it's a bit more than 10 minutes. So we'd have to maybe do it as a committee of the whole, I guess, which is something we could do. So I just thought I'd bring it up. I don't know if anybody's been following. I know I passed some information on to council, but if council's interested, it would definitely be worth inviting them here to get an update. So I just wanted to put that out there. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that. Councillor Parslow?
Well, I think it is exciting, particularly this cross-border stuff. And I just think, yes, definitely have them here for council. But, I think this is such a big topic and such a big opportunity. I would be tempted to invite other community leaders to listen in, because ultimately, the more people know, the more they'll talk about it. Our MLA, who may or may not know about this, should be in attendance or be invited to attend. But I'm thinking, some other community leaders, because this notion that we travel to Prince George when we've got Grand Prairie so close, right? And there's lots of interaction between the two, makes absolute sense. In the video that was sent out, there seems to be some positive approach by Northern Health. And it isn't a flat no by the provincial government. That's what I was reading into it, right? It would certainly really, really improve access to medical services for us. And that's why I'm just saying it. I think we gather people around a table to talk to, or you haven't, but previous mayors have, around oil and gas. Why not do something like that and have a broader presentation?
I like that. It's a good idea, even to, organizations, but even businesses as well,
Well,
right?
yes.
Like you get their funding and what they're doing there. There's a big private.
Well, health
Funding
affects
portion.
every one of us. Mm-hmm. Water affects every one of us. The more we get people informed. I shared that video with some people, and they were asked me questions, right? But maybe don't process information well, right? But I said, no, if you listen to this, you listen to this, and think, wow, this is important, right?
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea. Maybe we could look at hosting them over here and inviting it to whoever would want to come.
You never know. You may find you'll get some sponsors, because you'll notice that in that video, there was certainly been some significant donations towards it within the business community of Grand Prairie.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think we have people I know of in this community, business people, are very philanthropic and might want to get behind it, even if it's just to support our work with the provincial government to become a partner in this.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a great initiative by these people, and we should do everything we can to improve access to health services and cross-border. I mean, I know we can go if we're referred, but just, you can get this test done in Grand Prairie rather than driving 4.5 hours to Prince George.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Parslow. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. First off, I fully agree with everything Councillor Parslow said there and yourself. I think it'd be great to further those conversations and build awareness of Muskwa and the health services that they're potential cross-border health services. I think it would be phenomenal. But I was hoping that we could also lift a couple of the department reports today as well.
We can deal with this one and then we can go back to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other comments on this one? No? I guess, Kevin, if we wanted to reach out and, I like Councillor Parslow's idea of maybe we could host them I was just thinking maybe at Mercer Hall, and we could send out an invite and invite people, but I guess, I don't know if that's the place, but where would we start to look at something like that? Like, would you?
Yeah, so through your worship, if council, it sounds like they're interested in this, then we can certainly reach out to Muskwa and see when that might work, and then start to build around who we might want to, as I say, invite some community folks to come and listen, and from a business perspective, and start to flush it out and see what where we might want to hold it, depending on what size and all that.
Yeah, I like that idea better versus having it as a committee of the whole, having it to the community. That's a good idea. So would we need a motion here then to direct something like that?
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay. I think we can make a motion, yeah. Yeah. I'll make the motion that we reach out to the Muskwa Medical Center team and just see what their interest would be to come to the city of Dawson Creek and do a presentation for some community members and council on what they offer and where we can help, and yeah. Second, Councillor Sudnick, any discussion? No? Okay, I'll call that to vote. Vote is closed, and that's carried. Thank you. Councillor MacDonald, did you want to? Councillor MacDonald?
Well, thank you, Worship. I was hoping we could lift the reports from our communications officer
Okay,
today and, parks, arenas, and aquatics, if that's all right.
do we want to do motion for one at a time, or can we make a motion to lift both? Okay, thanks, Councillor MacDonald, second, Councillor Sudnick. I'll call that to vote. Vote is closed. That's carried. All right, so communications.
Which one is it?
Communications first, and then we'll do parks, or you said parks, arenas, and aquatics,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so we can talk to communications first, and Melissa is here as well, communications lead, so. Go ahead, Councillor.
Okay, thank you, Worship. So through your worship to our communications officer, I was just looking for some more information about the Start Your Something initiative that we did. Wondering about next steps that are coming up on that. And just do we have any reportable data on its effectiveness so far? Is there... Yeah, just data on the, our $150,000 investment, if we hit the mark we meant to.
Through your worship, thank you for the question, Councillor MacDonald. This is great timing. So I am building a wrap-up report for the Start Something campaign currently. I don't know that it will come to the next meeting, as that will be taken up largely by budget. So probably end of February, you can expect to see that. We have lots of excellent data and analytics to share with you. And I do have a couple of suggestions of where we could go with our next steps, but I'd also like to hear from council on that too. So you can expect to see that very soon.
Okay, wonderful.
Excellent, thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Any other discussion? No? I have maybe a little bit, Melissa. I get the opportunity to just probably spend a bit more time with you than most here. So I just want to, I know bringing this communications division in was a big part of council, and kind of just bridging those gaps, throughout the community. And it was important to council that we moved that forward. So I just, and then since that happened, it's new, right? So there's been a lot of things, but I want to thank you for your commitment and what you're doing. I know there's a lot more on your plate than probably most see, and you can tell that there's a lot of things coming at you in all different directions. And one thing that I didn't realize or appreciate, I guess, when we did this was the internal communications of the organization, and I didn't picture that at all. And for me, it was more about other communications parts out to the community, but I've seen that and seen how it's impacted the organization in a positive way. So it's nice to see that. And yeah, I do. I think with anything, there's always opportunity to learn and learn from things and pivot and move forward and different things. So I really believe that it's a critical thing that the city has and maintains is the communication. I definitely would like to we've improved tremendously, but I still think there's some opportunity in that community, and not the political side, not at all, just more of that community education. And I look at how many things we've done in this community and the city team has done over the last 3 years, and whether it's the development of the playgrounds moving forward and why we're doing that, or the storm sewer or the storm water that we replaced over by the dog park and why we pivoted and changed that. There's so many things that are done for the right reasons for our community that it would be, it'd just be nice to pre-educate the community on why we're doing those things, because it just shares a clear message of what the focus has been. And I don't, saying all that or where I see that or council, it's not taking away from what the communications have done, because it's been phenomenal. It just shows that there's even more opportunity, right, to grow and to do things. And I look at how, I think it was the video maybe that was done on the arena or the pool, was done, or there was I don't go on social media often, but I did see the video on the sports flooring, and like those types of things, like I just think are phenomenal to get out to the community. But you know, I even look at like the road construction, like when we're redoing roads, like how there's policies in place that when we're redoing roads, that we're redoing everything, like the sewer, the water, the lighting, that we're looking at all the infrastructure, like, you know, and I guess you can put that education out there and some will take it and some won't, but I just feel like if we can, you know, continue to move to that direction, like it just, you know, there's been a shift in our community. But I think there's so many great things that we do, that, you know, it's not about like being egotistic or shouting from the rooftop. It's just about sharing, you know, what we're doing and what the leadership team and all of the team at the city's doing. So, yeah, I just wanted to take this opportunity to touch on that a little bit. And I don't want you or your team to take any of that in a negative way, because I think there's been so much positive stuff. It's just something that I've always, you know, seen that, you know, I think there's some areas for opportunity in there. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So, Your Worship, I'll have Melissa just go through her update. There's lots of information and data and stats just from the last quarter, and that way provide some insights. And then if you got questions.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for giving me a little bit of extra time to talk today. So today's update is really just a very quick recap of how and where we communicate, what we do, how we make decisions, and the highlights and impact it has on the community. Obviously, we touch on nearly every project that every department works on. So this presentation could be hours long. I did my best to keep it very short and sweet. So if you have anything that you would like some clarification on or have some questions, just please let me know. So fingers crossed. There we go. Okay. So as Mayor Dober was saying, this is a new division that was formed in August 2023. So before that, we always did communications off the side of our desk. And then I came in as the communications manager in 2023, and that's when we really started to have a better focus on communications and rebuilding or building from the ground up what that could look like. So the purpose of this division is really to keep residents, city staff, and city partners connected, informed, and engaged. Our role is to translate council priorities, city initiatives, and services into clear, accessible information for the public, our staff, and our partners. So how we communicate. We focus on meeting residents where they are, whether that's through roundtables, chat messages, on social media, emails, phone calls, in-person meetings. Across all of our channels, our goal is consistent, accessible messaging that helps residents understand city services, decisions, and opportunities. And there's a lot that goes on in the background that many aren't aware of, and I'm hopeful to continue seeing that growing, where we have personal conversations with residents and other partners. So we have to carefully balance our resources well, whether that's ensuring we have enough staff time to complete an item or enough budget. Both of these items are weighed when deciding what the best way to reach our audience is. So where we communicate. So these are our top 4 websites that I usually refer to. And the city's websites are our sole source of truth. So they must provide residents with reliable, up-to-date information about services, programs, and decisions. A significant amount of our work happens behind the scenes to ensure information is accurate, easy to find, and accessible. And the websites you see here are dawsoncreek.ca, tourismdawsoncreek.com, startyoursomething.ca, and dawsoncreekairport.com, which is on the list for a refresh this year through our 2026 capital budget. We also have a number of landing pages, which is just a one-pager for those who don't know, out there, such as the southpiecemultiplex.ca, which also need to be updated now that our larger websites are complete. So as I tell many of my colleagues, we must operate as if social media will be gone tomorrow. And if that happens, is our online presence strong enough to keep our residents informed? And I believe it is, thanks to a lot of hard work over the last 2.5 years. So moving on, we have everybody's favorite, social media. This is where majority of the fun happens, simply because it is what drives the most engagement. Social media allows us to share timely updates, reinforce key messages, and engage with residents directly. Each platform serves a different purpose, so content is tailored to the audience and the way the people use that platform. So for example, I'm going to just list off each one you see here and a little bit of what goes on each page. So we have City of Dawson Creek Mayor's Office. This was a platform that was launched after Mayor Doig took office. It's a new initiative designed to stay with the City of Dawson Creek as mayors may change, instead of using personal mayor's pages that may be lost after an election. So this page is the home of Mayor and Council's initiatives and is intended to be a highlight reel of the projects and or meetings that the group is attending. Moving to the right is the City of Dawson Creek main platform. This is where we share all main city services such as council meetings, snow and road updates, budget information, garbage and recycling, and more. And to the right is Tourism Dawson Creek. This is our main tourism platform where we share community events and drive our main tourism campaigns. And if you move down to the bottom left, we have City of Dawson Creek Recreation. This is a platform solely for recreation in Dawson Creek that has received a lot of traction over the last year. Many kudos to my teammate, Courtney Arndt, who has spent many hours revamping this platform and ensuring that we reach residents in new and fun ways. In 2021, 2022, we received a number of negative complaints saying we didn't market ice times and other recreation opportunities enough. So that really drove what we chose to do over the last 2 years, rebuilding marketing materials and trying to come up with different ways to share those programs. We've since fully rebuilt all of the materials, and we're driving strong campaigns through this platform, which assists with the uptake and attendance for recreation programming. Then we have the City of Dawson Creek Fire Rescue page. So this is also a recent new initiative. Our firefighter team requested a page of their own where they could post updates and events for the fire department. And we are lucky enough to have some great firefighters who take majority of the care of this page, and we help out where we can too. They do a great job though. And last but not least, the Mile Zero Alaska Highway. So this is one of our longest standing social media platforms that many often forget about, but it sees traffic from all over the world. So people checking in to dream about taking the Alaska Highway journey, or those that have already taken it following along to view the history and the journey again. So if you don't follow all of these pages, I highly encourage you to. Majority of them have a Facebook as well as an Instagram, and it's if you really want to stay up to date on what's happening in the city, I recommend following each one because each one has a different voice. So moving on from there. This is just a little recap of 2025 of our social media impact, although I hate to talk so much about social media because we have so many other things that go on with websites and print and face-to-face conversations. This is something that people are often curious about. So if you look in the first far left column and compare it to the far right column, you can see that we've had steady growth over the last year. Those are our main growth numbers. And then another number that I've thrown in there is the Facebook followers that are actually from Dawson Creek. I find that very interesting. A little bit lower than you would think, especially on the City of Dawson Creek main platform. But that means that there's also lots of folks from the Peace River region following us as well. Oh.
Are you okay with questions? Drew?
Absolutely.
So I can wait
No,
till, sorry.
absolutely.
I was just wondering, with the e-newsletter subscriptions, at some next time we get an update, if we could get those
Current
numbers too, because I
stats.
know one thing is always, social media is wonderful. It's also a very risky enterprise to build your communications around because the change of an algorithm or the change of a regulation could completely upend your promotional efforts. And that's why, websites and e-newsletters and owning that data yourself is always important. So just a note for next time, that'd be great.
Absolutely. I can include that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor Parslow had a question too.
Yeah, again, I'm not sure it's possible, but it's always interesting if you can analyze the followers by some demographic characteristics. Because if we find that there's some portion of the population not, then maybe we need to adapt our marketing strategy. I'm wondering how the mayor's going to improve his following. What ideas has he given you?
I've really enjoyed your ideas today, so I'm curious what your thoughts are on how we could improve that.
Well, my advice is stay off social media, period. But, I mean, maybe just take some variety of different photographs of you, hunting, fishing, snowshoeing, whatever you do. But, so people have a new picture every day, perhaps. I mean, that photograph that appeared on the screen is your standard shot, right? I don't know. But, you're very enthusiastic about the community. I think everybody I know likes you. I mean, I liked you better than liked you. So why aren't they following you? Maybe I just asked the question because. So you've got some data. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm a great believer in data-driven information, but seriously, on a serious note, it's interesting to look at the demographics because the mayor does provide a very positive perspective about the community, and I don't know. He's a good guy, so I'd like to see him promoted more. Maybe Carl will give you some ideas. He's laughing over there.
I'm just laughing at you sticking a knife to the I really like you, jab, jab.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow.
Through your worship, if I may, I would also like to add that there is ample opportunity for any of you to send me photos or videos of things that you are doing around the community, because that does really add to the mayor's office page. So if any of you are out snowshoeing or skiing or using facilities, please share with us, because that's what makes the page interesting and really does promote Dawson Creek.
And I'm aware that I need to do a better job of taking pictures. I get reminded often by a few ladies here that I need to take pictures more often.
Well, just to illustrate, I had lunch with a citizen that Darcy knows very well, and around business. And as it's just a side comment, he said, "Have you seen this website on YouTube?" And I hadn't, but ever since he told me, I've been watching it every day. And it's fascinatingly interesting about our region. For those who like the outdoors, fishing and hunting, recreation. And I've sent it out to my network. I say, listen, most of the people my network don't live here, right? And I say, this is what you can access here in the Northeast. And so sometimes there's websites that people might want to be linked to. Mm-hmm. I was going to share this site with the mayor privately, but because we are so fortunate where we live here, what we have access to. And the real reason this video appeals to me is it really showcases our region and what we can do here.
Interesting.
If you're into outdoor recreation, hunting, fishing, hiking, just general exploration. And so I think we shouldn't hesitate to link from our site to others that really promote this area.
All right. Thanks, Councillor Parslow.
Through your worship, thank you, Councillor Parslow. I forgot to mention earlier that I can also pull demographics, and that's something I look at frequently, so I will aim to do that next time too, just to provide more information for all of you. And to add to your note about linking other websites, that's a great spot probably on our tourism website, we would link out to as many different organizations or anything promoting the Peace region there. So that would be great to have that on there if it's appropriate. So maybe I will check in with you after the meeting as well.
I was just trying to help the mayor promote himself. He might want to put some of those things on his website.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So moving on, producing content. This is a great opportunity. So this is where council and city departments often provide the topic or intent to the communications department. It's driven through priorities, initiatives, report topics, and more, or conversations such as this. And then the communications team decides how to deliver that. So we determine the method, whether that's digital, print, radio, or meetings. And then we determine the medium, whether that is photo, video, or more. Whatever fits the bill the best is what we try to do. We try to keep it outcome focused, professional, and data driven. So there are a lot of different ways of gathering data that we use and analytics that we review. And it's great that you've provided that direction for what you would like to see in my reports. I'm not always sure how many numbers you want to see and what's exciting to you and what's exciting to me may be very different. So I will bring a few different things next time. So this is really a key message for our team, and it sets the tone for working with us effectively. So many people get hung up on telling comms how to send a message, whether it's social media posts, video, printed posters. They forget to provide the content. That's really what we need is what problem are you trying to solve? So this was great conversation today. That really helps direct me in the direction that we need to go. And it's similar to how other city projects work in different departments. So the problem to solve may be, say, completing more paving projects, and then Devin's team determines how best to solve that problem. So that's, if you can turn your mind to thinking about communications in the same way, we seem a little bit airy-fairy and out there taking photos and making pretty posters, but it is really similar to how other departments build their projects as well. So in 2025, the communications team completed several large-scale digital projects, often while maintaining, not often, we did maintain day-to-day communications as well. So these included rebuilding the Tourism Dawson Creek website, bringing the city app to 90% completion ahead of a spring launch, which you can expect probably in April or May. There will be more information coming on that. And we migrated the main city website, dawsoncreek.ca, to a new platform. We also significantly updated the city's photo and video library, and these projects aim to modernize our digital infrastructure and improve public access to information. So I'm pretty proud of what our team has done over the last year, and excited to work on new websites. So how we make decisions, like I said before, everything that we can keep data-driven is data-driven. We tailor the content by platform, whether that's carousels, which are images in a row, or reels, which are videos on social media. Everything is analyzed, and we try to keep tabs on that and do what works best. And what works for one platform may not work for another. So you may see fancy little videos all over the recreation page, but you might not see as many fancy videos on the city main page. There's different reasons for why text performs better or photos perform better over videos, and why videos perform better on, say, recreation sports pages. And that can change weekly. So it's something that I look into frequently. All right, so over the past year, our work increased digital reach and engagement across platforms, supported departments with professional communications, and improved transparency between council staff and residents. These outcomes reflect the value of having a centralized communications function. Through initiatives like the Start Something campaign, which Councillor MacDonald mentioned, we've also strengthened Dawson Creek's presence beyond the region, supporting broader economic development and community awareness efforts. And I look forward to bringing you a recap on that campaign. So in 2026, our focus is education, helping residents, staff, and council find and understand city information. With this being especially important as we move into an election year and continue to navigate changes in how municipalities operate and communicate. It's very essential that we teach residents how to come to council, what to expect, how to write a letter, where to find all of the city information on the websites, teaching them about the budget, teaching them about property taxes. So we have a number of initiatives on the books already, but if you have any specific things that you think are valuable that you would like to share with me, please do.
Councillor MacDonald just had a question on that.
Yep, go ahead.
I just thought, what Mayor Dober said earlier, right, about highlighting those not necessarily sexy city projects, right? Like the great job the pavers are doing, the great job our snow removal team does, and possibly, maybe we do little highlights of, hey, what does your water department do? Right? Little vignettes on that, and just a little more understanding of the day-to-day process, and highlight some of our amazing city staff. Mayor Dober and Councillor Parslow highlighted just how amazing the Kin Arena or Kin Sports Floor, or whatever we call the Kin now, how great their staff are, and what a great job they do. Same with that the Aquatic Center and our frontline staff here. Right? I think it's a lot less about those of us sitting at this table and more about the actual city staff and what they do for the community and what a great job they do. That would be my desire for what we communicate in 26. Highlight the great staff, because we have amazing staff throughout all the departments, and what a great job they're doing, honestly.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor Rolfe.
Thank you, Worship, and to staff. As part of the website revamp, I know we, the aspiration, and we did put up a community calendar, an event calendar, with the intent being everyone feeds events into that, so we've got kind of a one-stop shop. How is that going, and how's been the buy-in from community organizations?
Thank you for the question, through your worship. It's going pretty good so far. So it really only truly launched in November, but I can grab some stats for you on that as well. So it is subscription based, and I can check that. We've had some good uptake from the community so far, and you can expect to see a community events calendar campaign rolling out as well. But for those who don't know, we now have an events calendar on the Tourism Dawson Creek website, which is meant to be the one-stop shop, as Councillor Earl said. You can submit your community events there. They will be vetted by our staff to ensure that they're appropriate. And then you can also subscribe to receive the events calendar listing. So every Friday you would receive an email saying what's going on in the upcoming week. That's something that I know all of you and I heard from the community over the past couple of years, is that they were really looking for one place to put everything, find everything. And I think the tourism website is great for that.
And just to follow up, there's also an events calendar on the City of Dawson Creek itself. Is that supposed to mirror the tourism calendar, or is that a separate entity?
That's correct. It does, but it does not mirror the events calendar. So we're going to drive all community events to the tourism calendar.
Okay.
The calendar on the city website will have council meetings and city hall
more
closures.
operational
And
stuff.
that's
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
Thank you for that explanation.
Thanks, Councillor Earl.
All right, looking forward. So, some key strategic priority actions that is on the strategic priority action plan for this department include marketing the Dawson Creek Regional Airport, marketing the South Peace Community Multiplex, marketing downtown events and opportunities for economic growth, and building relationships and driving engagement across departments, residents, and community groups. And I will also add in the items that all of you mentioned as well.
Councillor Parslow had a question on that.
Yeah, this list here just poses, again, something that needs to be clearly, let's say the boundaries need to be well articulated. If the city establishes an economic development department or person or part-time, whatever, this aspect is where there's economic development officers having some success, right? Which what I only know of is in larger centres, right? But that's their role. So this is something that I think might be in transition. I just don't know. I mean, you have a big enough piece of work already, but I'm just saying I don't know where this is. And you know, earlier on, I think it was marketing the multiplex. Well, I always thought that Vintiv did that. And so I'm wondering, we're going to have multiple people really doing a lot of overlap, or how's that all going to be coordinated? And are we not being good stewards of the taxpayers' revenue when we have such a shotgun approach? This is not any criticism at all. It's just a reflection I have. Where are the boundaries with all this stuff, right? We're looking at all the needs for funding, and we have duplication or triplication, we need to make it just one. The last thing I'd say is communication is always a difficult and frustrating area. And whilst I appreciate you have some plans, right, I think it would be a good exercise sometime to have some. Let's do a spot around communication from this side, right? What are the opportunities? What would really satisfy the elected officials side of this organization? I mean, whilst someone said just recently, just here, I think internal communication was not something they had envisaged, but it is vitally important. And I think I sense a real change for the good in that regard. So anyway, that's why I wanted to just switch, because you had marketing. I don't know who's going to do what, right? But it sure needs to be coordinated and organized, and I'd say not duplicated.
Through your worship, to Councillor Parslow, what I would say in response to that is that the economic development officer, or whatever type of position we choose to go with, would mostly be responsible for the liaising and building relationships and collecting the content. Marketing is still a different type of function. So at this stage, if we don't have that, it looks like other staff members pulling the content or myself pulling the content, and then we begin the marketing process. So whether or not the person changes for who contributes the content to my team, the marketing would still live with my team. Just that's simply building materials, pushing the ads out, working with print companies, that sort of thing. So that's where I do see the difference and the delineation between those two functions.
Thank you.
How does that work for the multiplex?
So through your worship, as for the South Peace Community Multiplex, the Ovintiv Events Centre is responsible for, and Ryan can correct me if I'm wrong, but they are responsible for marketing the event centre itself. The South Peace Community Multiplex is the city-owned entity that we are responsible for marketing together. So that would be marketing the multiplex as a whole. So it would be the pool, the event centre, and the Lakota Agricultural Centre. We do have a landing page out there right now that is very outdated and just needs to be updated in itself. And Ryan and I have had some discussions about what that would look like in collaboration with the Ovintiv Event Centre, ensuring that we work alongside them and that we wouldn't do anything and duplicate efforts where we can avoid it.
Thank you.
So in closing, communications is a core service that supports every department and council priority wherever we can. And despite being a small team, we've delivered significant projects and ongoing support by continuing to improve how we share information, strengthen transparency, trust, and connection across the community. So thank you for giving me the time to speak today. And if there's any other questions, please let me know.
Thanks, Melissa. Councillor Earl?
Not too much in the way of questions, just a compliment to staff on the work over the last couple of years in reestablishing this department. I do recall there was a very real need, certainly just throughout the pandemic and things around that. It became very clear that allowing the public discourse to be decided by the lowest common denominator in the comment section of what the F. Dawson Creek was not a serviceable way to run a city. And then, although Mayor Dober's predecessor, Dale Bumstead, was a very capable communicator, when he left his position and his mayor's page, which had become the de facto communications page for the city, went with him, we realized the liability and risk that was there in having a page that was that linked to a politician as opposed to the mayor's page, which, when his worship decides to move on to something else, remains with the city. That data remains with the city. That communication apparatus remains. So compliments on that, as it was a big thing to take on. I appreciate the challenge in your work. I have a similar role myself, and the one thing about marketing and communications that a lot of people don't appreciate is everybody sees and has an opinion about your work. Whereas most people have the luxury of growing and developing in a somewhat private way. In this role, you're subject to scrutiny from day one. So I appreciate that. And then one last thing to reaffirm is this is a very difficult position because on the one hand, we want to make sure that the community is informed, and not only of the logistical stuff and of the challenges, but also of the good things that are happening and the opportunities they can take advantage of, and how to thread that needle between serving the public interest and making sure you're not becoming a de facto publicist for politicians is something that I think is important. I don't want to replicate some of the mistakes I think they make at the provincial and federal level around public resources being deployed to essentially give incumbent politicians an unfair advantage in campaigning. I don't think that's what anybody's paying taxes for, wants to see their resources being deployed to. And I think we've maintained that balance so far. And I just wanted to, thank you guys for your work in building this up.
Thanks, Councillor Earl.
Councillor Apollonio?
Thank you, Your Worship. Of course, Melissa, thank you very much for all the hard work. Of course, your team with Courtney and of course the rest. I know it's really hard how to make, especially with Kyle MacDonald's, keeping a lot of social media accounts just to to inform the community. I know it's really hard, and it's only 2 years, so there's a lot of things to learn. And I hope we will be just positive or sponge just to receive any feedback or anything. Because as Councillor Jeremy Earl said, that we're in a good place now compared before. So so kudos, and of course keep on going, and of course thank you.
Thank you.
And I will just send you more pictures and videos.
Thanks, Councillor Apollonio. I heard that last part about sending more pictures. Any other questions? I don't have any questions, Melissa. I just want to thank you for the presentation and putting this work together. I did want to, just one comment on it. I've noticed on a couple of the last presentations, just pictures have been updated. So it's just nice to see, like on this one, you have the pump track on there and the car show. But the last picture, actually, I really caught my attention the most with the quorum and at the art gallery. Just the way that's taken with everything included in it, that one there. Just spoke to community. Like it's just, it's a beautiful picture. So I've just noticed that on the last bit. So it's nice to see that because some of those pictures and tourism and stuff we've been using for the last 20 plus years. So it's just nice to see that. So so thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Your Worship, I just had a quick question for Melissa, just something that wasn't asked, but so something that I have been asked in the past, and honestly, I don't know best practices, is when we respond to commentary on social media, because a lot of times there'll be a post and there'll be people that will get on there, and sometimes that commentary will spiral off in different directions. And I guess for Melissa, just to explain, at what point or when do we actually intervene on some of those comments, and when do we just let it be? I think that's good information for council and anybody else.
Absolutely. So through your worship to Kevin, the only time that we respond to questions on social media is if it's on our own platforms. So just to clarify, if the questions are floating around on those other types of pages we have in our community, we don't really necessarily go on there and engage. And then when they are on our own platforms, the rule that I usually express to staff, I do have other staff that help us answer, and myself, is it must be a true question. If it is a question for us that we can answer, we strive to answer it. If it becomes just a conversation, as most of you have seen in the comments section, it can go on for a long time. If there's no true question addressed there, then we don't answer it necessarily. And that you may see that differently in different municipalities. Some municipalities have a specific social media person who are just there to engage. Unfortunately, with the spread of our resources, we don't live on our social media pages all the time. But yes, if there's a true question, we do our best to answer it. Majority of the questions on our platforms actually do come from private messages. So that's actually great for us. I would much rather answer in a private message, but also answering questions in the comments section provides more information for residents as well. And then just to add to that, so we do have a social media policy that is shared on all of our pages. And if residents or other members choose to call people out personally or use profanity or comments get out of hand, we do have things in place where we can address that. And whether that's hiding comments or if someone becomes prone to attacking on social media, we can take some necessary action.
Thank you. All right, no more questions? Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Councillor MacDonald, you had something you wanted to bring up in the Parks, Arena and Aquatics as well?
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, just a quick question and comment. The new Christmas lighting, wonderful, amazing features we have in the community. But I was asked a few times over this winter about the throne and its placement behind the library. And I'm just wondering, because it got placed there and then didn't turn on for the first few weeks. And I'm just wondering, is there thoughts to maybe a different spot for the throne for next year, a little bit more visible? It's a beautiful piece of art and lights and a great feature, and I'm just wondering if we can better utilize it somewhere else.
Through your worship to Councillor MacDonald, the throne had some electrical issues.
Oh, okay.
So there's some internal wiring harness connection stuff, which is problematic to deal with when it's
in the
really
summer,
cold.
never mind.
So
Yeah.
we need to look at that when we do that. In terms of location, last year we looked to spread the decorations around. I don't think that all of them are necessarily in their final resting spot per se, and I think that we do address it or looked at it last year, did it again, and I know that there is, we've received positive comments on, the snowman at the Ken Bork Aquatic
Beautiful.
Center, right?
Yeah.
And the large, I think it's snowflake at the library and such, and so I think it's a matter of us, again, assessing where the stuff goes and how it is. It is very taxing on the equipment, or not the equipment, the decoration, moving it in and out of storage and transporting and all that. And so it's we're trying to find it's the maintenance and ensuring that they are last a long time and the finickiness of it. Especially, it's like the Christmas tree, right? The one bulb goes out,
yes.
and you got to find the one bulb to turn it all back on.
100%.
So.
Okay. And then I just had one more question. The Kin sports floor. I agree. It seems like usage of the floor is building and building. I was just wondering about if there's any update on numbers on we're seeing there on a monthly basis. Is it increasing? General, and just any general data you can about the sports floor.
Through your worship to Councillor MacDonald, yes, the numbers are increasing. There's some information in the Community Culture and Recreation departmental update for you. We will have much more detailed information for you at the next council meeting, as we have a committee of the whole report coming about the sports floor and some discussion around that we want to engage with you in terms of what it is, what it isn't, how it works, and all that sort of stuff. I would say that the space has definitely provided some different and unique opportunities that, again, has resonated over the, this year has come to that point, but many years of previous work, conversation, et cetera, has really start to flourish with the sports floor itself. It still takes time to build. I think that part of that challenge that we have is, right, there's just the commitment, right, of, it's still a trial period, right, or is defined as a trial period. So there are many organizations that have said they're interested in using the space, but because it's not a definitive spot or location or whatever it is, they're not necessarily committed to give up what they already have, and also understanding that the fee structure that we have in place isn't necessarily a barrier, but certainly that the gyms at the school district are significantly cheaper because in some cases they are free. And so they're, although our rates have been mirrored with the school district, in many cases, the school district or the gyms and some of the groups and associations that are using the gyms aren't really paying anything. And so that's, although not necessarily a barrier because our pricing is extremely competitive, but it's still a barrier.
They're waiving fees.
I'm not sure if they're waiving it per se. I can't confirm or deny that. I just know that when we've talked to different groups and sports organizations that the rate is significantly cheaper. Or has been, is not consistently applied.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Any other comments? Councillor Parslow.
Well, Ryan's response to Councillor MacDonald, just point of information, used to be many years ago a joint use agreement between the city and the school district. I'm wondering if that needs to be updated, or have some organizations bypass the city's recreation department and strung out their own deal with the school principal, which is contrary to the joint use agreement that the school district did have. As you know, I'm really stale dated there, but I'm just pointing that out. The other thing I was pleased to hear that the city of Grand Prairie is building, I think it's an $11 million indoor soccer facility. And the reason I was pleased to hear about that is because I think that some, with the indoor recreation area that we have now at Kin, that we might have some soccer teams being able feel confident to take part in the big events that are going to happen in Grand Prairie with that. And incidentally, my contact with the city of Grand Prairie, the first thing that came out of his mouth as to why he supported it, he sees it because soccer is so widely popular and accessible. He sees it as a major economic development tool for the city of Grand Prairie, given the numbers of people that play soccer. So with this facility, we'll have some expanded opportunity for our soccer-loving kids.
Yeah. Thanks, Councillor Parslow.
Ryan, did you?
Yeah, I just, through your Councillor Parslow, so there is a joint use agreement. It's still in effect, it's still in place and effect. And say annually, we meet with school district officials to review it and discuss it, and we have done that. And we are looking to, I don't want to say update it, but the document needs to definitely be refreshed for sure, and it's been on it is on our radar, and we have had initial discussions to set up those meetings and such with the school district to do that.
Thanks, Ryan. Councillor Earl?
Just one last follow-up. I note in the, I guess it's culture and community, not necessarily the parks, arenas, but same wheelhouse, that the ice usage is down and cancellations are up. Do we have any sense, I know there's been some consternation expressed by some of the ice user groups around the change to the sports floor and how it's no longer next to the Memorial Arena. So is there any indication that those cancellations or that drop in usage is in any way entangled with that, or is that its own issue as far as we're aware?
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Earl. I don't necessarily believe so. I think some of the first of all, at the beginning of the season, everyone puts in their ice time. And I think that some of the organizations have done a much better job of managing their ice, I think, than from previous years. And I'm not saying that they did a bad job then, but I think they're being much more conscientious about what's being booked and when it's being used and how well it's being used. So I do know that is being done this year. By some of the organizations. That being said, they do cancel, and then as the season goes on, they pick up some ice, but there's still in some cases a net a deficit. I do know that that it isn't necessarily because the reduction in the ice hours isn't necessarily due to the nature of the arenas aren't side by side, et cetera. It's just the overall decision by those organizations to not need or use the ice. It could be a variety of reasons. It could be demographics in terms of shifts, number of members in their associations, right? In terms of, are they requiring that extra, like if there's, 2 U11, 4 U11, or whatever it is, right? And so that, as that shifts through, the organization, that means those ice times may change as well. I think also in response is that with this year's ice season specifically, as we went into it, all organizations were very aware of the facility bookings, no different than in previous when we hosted provincial, the volleyball provincials or whatever it is, right? All these larger events are booked, whether it's at the Memorial or Kin or the event center. And so as part of that, one of the experiments that we did this year, which turned out very well for the ice users, is that this year, out of all the years, we're specifically going to be tight for ice. But in response to that, the city did open up the Memorial Arena on stat holidays for a minimum of 8 hours of bookings and provided that ice time that has never been really provided to the ice users. And all the ice time was taken. And it was at a higher rate as well, just for clarity on that as well. And so us understanding the ecosystem, I think that we've responded particularly well of providing more ice, communicating the information, and then working with the ice user groups through. On that note, Spring Ice, as part of the allocation, they've met all the hours due to Koi Cup and seniors and all the groups, figure skating and minor hockey, and so Spring Ice will continue. They've met their, I'm going to say, the allocation minimum, which is great news. So it's not this year or this coming spring. There isn't a, we're short 10, 15, 25 hours or stuff. We've actually are right on that minimum threshold. So that Spring Ice is going ahead as well and met that threshold as well, that is a sign of good news of increased ice usage as well.
Cool. Thank you, Ryan. I noticed are we done, Councillor Earl?
Yeah, go for it.
Just more councillors are popping up, but we do have one more thing I want to deal with, so I just want to move the consent calendar along, so if we can keep the questions. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to highlight last year compared to this year too, would have had the speed skating club when they folded mid-year last year. So that original booking would have included them.
Yeah, so they're if anything, that's provided more ice
Yes.
time for these groups. And what that also has done is for those organizations has provided more, I'm going to call it prime time ice availability for those organizations as well. So unfortunately, with the loss of one nonprofit and their activities, it's provided an increased opportunity for the other organizations as well.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor Parslow, did you, or you were good?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Thanks, Ren.
Ominous.
Did anybody else want to lift anything else from the consent calendar? No? Need a motion to accept the consent calendar. Councillor Sudnick, second. Councillor Apollonio. Call that to vote. Vote is closed. That's carried. Does anybody need a break before we go to 9:05?
Yeah, I think Ryan needs a break.
Okay, I just want to have a quick 2-minute one, so as quick as we can, we'll have a short break.
Hey, Ryan.
26 back to order, so just back on the agenda to 9.5, report number 26-012 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding the 2026 Draft 2 budget. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move recommendation 1, that report number 26-012 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding 2026 Draft 2 Budget Report be received for discussion.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Second, Councillor Kemp. Call that to vote. Somebody mowing the lawn out there, Councillor MacDonald? Or?
They got the blower.
Skidooing down the street.
Right. I assume they were out there doing donuts on the
Oh.
lawn of the RCMP.
Vote is closed, and that's carried. All right. Councillor Parslow.
Well, first, I just want to commend the writer, which is our wonderful CFO, Melissa, for how she's phrased some things in this report. I want to draw attention to the comment, the paragraph that's just before the modify financial planning parameters side heading. Reserves can be used strategically to stabilize tax rates during the period of financial pressure to smooth out short-term temporary expense increases or revenue decreases. They're not recommended to fund ongoing permanent costs. Using reserves to support annual operations creates a structural gap that must be corrected in future years, typically through a tax increase. Because of compounding effects, that increase is often larger than the reduction achieved through an initial draw on reserves. I might have added a couple of words about where it says creates a structural gap. I would add that adds to our pre-existing fiscal gap. Just makes things worse. Widens the gap. So we don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, if this is not to be in open, we're still uncertain about the PRA allocation.
No, we got some confirmation on that, so when you're done, we can get Kevin to give an update.
Okay.
But yeah, no, can be.
So one of the second, going to the modify financial planning parameters, I would not be in favor of reversing the shift as it relates to our use of PRA money. That again is just widening the gap, compounding the problem. As you know, maybe you don't share that, not speaking to you, Mayor, as an individual, but maybe my colleagues don't share the same anxiety I have about the tremendous impact a loss of the PRA funding would be for every municipality, but particularly for those who use a significant percentage for operating. The only place within our region that does that is the city of Dawson Creek and the village of Poostupi. But all would be impacted because of the loss of money for capital. So I appreciate, again, what was written under that side heading. The third sentence, if council wished to reverse the 2025 shift, this would reduce the transfer to capital by approximately 126, creating a corresponding savings on the operating side. Maintaining progress towards the 2030 PRA target helps demonstrate that the funding is being used as intended. And again, just want to remind that it is monitored, and we've done a lot of work to correct the wild spending on use of this money, and we should stay the course, in my opinion. Thank you. Oh, the last comment, in case you're wondering, I asked Melissa this privately, where she wrote, the debt for the South Peace Multiplex will be fully repaid in 2027, relieving some pressure on the operating budget. And I said I thought it had been paid, but I was reminded that there were two loans, one involving the regional district has been paid off. This is the second one. So if you were wondering about that, you now know the answer. If you weren't, well, just fine. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. If there's any other dialogue, Kevin, did you want to update a little bit on the, Melissa, okay, just on the PRA funding?
Through your worship to council, we did receive a preliminary PRA announcement on Friday that was recalled this morning, but we were able to get a revised calculation here, just confirmed only 4 minutes ago. So I'll go with that. So our PRA did increase this year, I'll say by a substantial amount as compared to last year. So it's up just over $800,000, $801,491. If you'll remember last year, we actually saw a 2.49% drop in our PRA. And so we always budget based on the prior year figure. And so with that increase, it is a 4.9% increase from last year. But when you kind of combine the two, and compared to almost 2 years ago, that's a 2.2% increase over that 2-year span if we didn't include the drop from the prior year. What that means is when we take, if council chooses to maintain the percentage allocation that currently exists with 62% to capital, 38% to operating, what that would mean for our operating fund is an increase of $305,000. and $497,000 for capital. It could also be a decision that if council wants to potentially put all of it to capital or more than the designated percentage, that's an option as well. I just know it was discussed last year and was raised by Councillor Parslow as an option when we got to draft 3. No, it must have been 2 years ago when there was an increase, because last year we were dealing with a decrease and had to balance the budget.
So the 30%, sorry. 30% is 300 and what?
38%, 305,000.
Correct.
Melissa, if you can just add the numbers to that. So if that was the way we did it, what does that mean in a tax decrease?
So if we would be able to potentially decrease the 6.75%, which is included in the draft 2 budget, down to 5.45, which is a decrease of 1.3%.
Okay.
And that would reduce property tax income by $303,000. So close, like so 1.3%.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, did you have more you wanted to add on that too? Or
No, do you want me to just keep it on though, or?
Yeah, you can keep it, yeah. Assuming there might be a few questions towards you. All right, council, I guess just with that, I mean, obviously we got that information 4 minutes ago, confirmed, so pretty hard to make decisions, but Kevin, is there a capital list where you would, like if that 500, I mean, I know there's been discussion around reserves and I could see that going to supporting the water, like that part of the capital, but I'm just curious if there's a burning desire on some of that capital list that you would recommend to be added on.
Yeah, so through your worship, through the process, there were good projects, needed projects that were set aside, I'm sure. So, council has a couple of options as we revisit those next up projects to see what fits in there, which might be facilities, or council could direct that to go to more paving if they want a targeted, approach, or as you indicated, it could be directed to go to capital reserves and more specifically could go to water.
Okay, thank you. Other discussion? Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. And is there the possibility then of us saying overall we want to drop the tax increase to a flat 5% and then the remainder go to capital?
So through your worship, and Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong, but then that would change the allocation of our PRA because you'd be taking more of that portion from the capital. So that would change the overall allocation that we're on track for. So that would, council, if they decide they could do that, they just need to be aware that that's what it means.
Right. Okay, that was just fresh information, so processing.
So an aspect to what Councillor MacDonald's saying, like if you were to lower it to 5 and, we get to 5.4 by the allocation of the actual PR funding the way it is, like, is there a way to, we've had discussion about the surplus too, like the accumulated surplus each year, and it was 5 million a few years and 3 million. Is there a way to tighten that up a little bit to accommodate some of that? Like, is it, I know it's hard to budget surplus, but I think of this is a little bit off topic of that, but I think of we've done a lot of good things, and I'm not questioning any of that. I think it's phenomenal what we've done and what we've moved in 3 years, but just the surplus that we are continuing to gain each year, it's a significant amount. And so is there a way to tighten that a bit? And I know you've said you've tightened it in the past, and it's went from 5 to 3, and I know you're looking at efficiencies in all those areas, but just curious to that.
Yes, so through your worship, you're right. We have, and we continue to do, and we did again have some discussions about finding some areas of where we can try and tighten that up. Also with our vacancy factors and things like that, we've got that. There is some risk with budgeting for a surplus, and Melissa could probably speak to that far better than I, because those were some of the discussions we had of, so you're assuming a surplus, you budget for it, and if you fall short, you've got a bit of a bigger issue, right? And then what that means is then next year becomes a bigger problem.
Yeah, you're making
so that's, but I do assure you that we are, we're constantly looking for that. We've talked about or looked at areas where we've maybe had challenges completing programs and whether we need to do things differently, resource it differently, whatever that may be. So those discussions are ongoing. But I don't know if you have anything you want to add, Melissa.
Through your worship, I think that kind of encaptures it. And it is hard to, we saw the snowfall this year in December and the amount that we spent on clearing downtown, right? And how much we went over budget during that month, which is okay. And we budget kind of the average. And so I guarantee this year we're going to be over on our snow plowing. And so sometimes they're due to not maybe being able to see projects through to completion, but also too, they do and capture the variances that happen each year depending on the snowfall, as an example. But it is kind of captured in that one paragraph that if you're using it to fund ongoing increases, it can become risky as opposed to potentially looking at reserves to do one-off temporary items, because then if your reserve starts to decrease and it doesn't accumulate, then you know that cost isn't ongoing and it's something that has an end.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Parslow.
Yeah, just, you said 30% of the 801,000 was what?
38%.
38%. Oh, I thought you went to.
Budgeted at this year, 2% every year.
Oh, I see. So we're ignoring the goal and applying a bigger figure, bigger percentage, right? 38%, which is what we are at right now.
It's not ignoring the goal, because this is part of the goal. Because right now we are.
No, that's a good correction, yes. Yeah. Yeah, so that, fine. I said 30. So I was hesitant in challenging your maths, but well, only because it's Melissa. If it would be you, I would have, no.
Fair enough. I wouldn't challenge.
I'm only kidding. Yeah, so again, the problem is really, you're just going to think short term, or you're going to be thinking long term. Short term is, what is the percentage for this year? But I'm quite frankly not so concerned about that. I'm concerned about how we're going to fund the pipeline, water pipeline. And I think we need to put as many dollars as we can set aside for that, because I think you would be delusional if you think we're going to be like Prince Rupert that got seemingly its water system all paid for. I don't think that's given how provincial coffers are, they're looking, they're really got a big deficit to deal with, and look at the national scene. The other thing as well, I think there are some important considerations that we should make before we aim on any and have a discussion and some resolution to. And I'm thinking about, what we heard about the art gallery, the request from KPAC, okay? There may be some other things that are decision points that are important. But I'm just listing those two because they were presented, I think, at the last council meeting. So, yeah, I know that I don't know about businesses. I know what the average small business taxes are, right? And what's the difference between 5% and 6.5%. And I know the average homeowners, and I don't see it's a material difference. Again, we need to decide on some other issues as well if we're going to cut some identified areas such as SPCA, such as Lakota, such as transit. Until you have resolution about those things, I think it's silly to. And if we're not going to cut them, then vote on it, and then they're decided upon, and then we can move forward. But I see 2 requests for funding, and I see at least 3 areas that my impression is that we need to resolve. Are we going to just continue as we have been, or are we going to cut back? Because whilst not all of the cutback would be realized this year, you're setting the stage for dealing with, you do have some benefit this year, and you're setting the stage for handling ever-increasing costs by making those cuts this year for next year's budget. So I think there's a whole bunch of decision points that need to be made. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Councillor Earl. Thank you, Worship. And although I'm sympathetic to the points raised by Councillor Parslow, and I agree with some of them, I do, I do think successive years of tax increases do weigh on people, and especially since we don't, these costs aren't increasing in a vacuum, isolated from, when somebody gets their paycheck, they don't have the luxury of saying, oh, well, this one line item can go up. We've seen groceries increase pretty substantively over the last couple of years, insurance with wildfires, floods, interest rates in general. So people who are renewing their mortgages are paying more for the exact same house they were getting before. And that is the ecosystem we operate in, like it or not. Now, as a government, we legally have the ability to compel people to give us money. But I don't think it's something we should be cavalier about or insensitive to. And certainly, it's I look at the 6.5, and I'm perfectly fine with if we can whittle that down using the percentage of PRA that is allocated for this year that is consistent with the guiding principles we've laid out to get to the 70-30 split by 2030. I'm okay with that. Another thing, we have pitched the idea of a pilot program for an economic development function. I do question the urgency of that in light of this, and whether or not that, I forget, it's $150,000 to $200,000 could be spent better by not being spent at all, or if, because it's a 2-year contract, whether it would be more appropriate for that to be funded out of reserves. My sense is that it would be best to just hold off on that for a little bit to see if those opportunities that my colleagues were led to believe may exist over the next 5 to 7 years begin to materialize, at which point, if it is a contract, I think it's something we can ramp up fairly quickly as a city. But, adding a new cost center while at the same time looking at reducing 2 cost centers in the form of transit and the SPCA seems counterintuitive. But I mean, obviously, I'm amenable to discussion from my colleagues, but I think if we wanted to whittle the proposed tax increase down to 5%, that would probably be a good place to start, because we haven't added anything, so it's not technically a cut yet to a service. Just a thought.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. I can comment a little bit to, I guess, where my thoughts are. Yeah, I agree with a lot that's been said. And I think, the pressures that we face outside of this in community that you've mentioned to Councillor Earl weigh in a little bit on this. And I think we've made a lot of progress where we've come. But I have a hard time with the 6.75. And, Councillor MacDonald brought up getting closer to 5. Like, I like that number. I like the increase of the PRA sticking to, what the plan is. Like, I know we looked at extending that, but I'm fine with it 2030, and to have 38% of it to go back to operating and help reduce that a little bit. The other part is you talked about, Melissa, about using sometimes reserves or surplus for the one-off. So I know we had some discussion around that with economic development for 2 years. So I'd like to see what that looks like, is if we use that for a one-off and remove the 0.25% increase that we have in here. That alone gets us with the PRA to 5.2. So, and it would be a one-off at that point afterwards if it was something that the council that will be sitting at the table then and city team wanted to look at growing, then they could look at adding that service then. As far as, if that's what we decide to do with that extra PRA funding, I could see that going, the capital portion of that going to water. But the other part is Kevin, you've spoke numerous times about, this winter that we've had, and the impact that has to our infrastructure and mostly paving, that, there could be a substantial, paving deficit, I guess, that comes from this. Once it thaws, that maybe that it just is allocated strictly to paving too, and patching, if we're going to have more of that this year. And over the last 5 years, we've invested a significant amount more into paving, the $5 million a year. So this is a little bit that adds to it, but yeah, I don't know, just, I guess my thoughts, I don't, as draft 2 presented at 6.5, I have a hard time being in favor of that moving forward. I think with the PRA coming in, and if we keep it to where that isn't getting that down to, the 5.4, and then removing the 0.25 for the economic development, that gets it to 5.2, and then bringing that out of reserves to pay for that for the next couple of years, I would be lean more towards that, I guess. And I understand the past and where we're at today, and I think this isn't short-term thinking for me. This is about understanding the climate we're in today, but we're also still looking at the bigger picture, and we're not changing anything with PRA funding and where we're going to get to, so by 2030. But just some of my thoughts on it. I did have some thoughts too. I know in this report it does talk about the South Peace Art Society request for $120,000 additional funding, and I think we can probably get to some of that later. I think we have to. Same with the Kiwanis Performing Arts Center. Some extra costs there. So, yeah, I guess just my thoughts on this. I know there's been a few things brought up that we've maybe shouldn't be talked about in this format, but I don't know if we come back to this later today, like we just have some discussion, and then come back later and deal with the rest of this. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, through your worship, I mean, we have lunch and we have a 12:30 that we have to be good to go for. I think you could table the discussion and come back to it later today.
Okay.
That's
So we don't
fine.
need to defer or anything, we can just table it. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna-
table is the correct, yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm just going to do that right now, table that, and then I am going to I'm going to recess the regular meeting, and then I'm just going to make a resolution to move into the meeting of council closed to the public for agenda item 2.1, section 92B. 3, the consideration of information received and held in confidence relating to negotiations between the municipality and a First Nation. So, motion, Councillor MacDonald, second, Councillor Kemp. I will call that to vote. Any discussion on that? No. Okay, I'll call that to vote. Vote is closed, and it's carried. All right, we'll be back at, probably 1 o'clock to the public, if I'm not too late to say that to them. Council for Monday, January 26, 2026, back to order. Our next order of business is 2.4. We have Doig River First Nation and Arbutus Consulting in attendance regarding the joint land use plan. So, welcome and good afternoon. Just gonna push that. There you go. The floor is all yours, so thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for having us. I would like to introduce our chief and council who are here as well, supporting us over this. And we are here today to talk about joint land use planning. I would like to take as little as time as possible so that we have as much time for questions as possible. So I am going to move very quickly through this presentation. After this is complete, these slides will be made available to the public, as well as the ability to sign up for our mailing list, as well as the ability to click on a link to do a survey, which has not been posted yet, but will be posted soon. Okay. So, very first up, what is joint land use planning? Over the last few years, Doig has worked on and created a land use plan. This was approved by Chief and Council last year and highlights Doig's vision for land use planning in the region. And as a result of that, BC has come to the table as part of some agreements in prior years to work on joint land use planning. And what that means is that some portions of Doig's land use plan are going to be carried forward into a joint land use planning process jointly with Doig River First Nation, the province, and the public. And the stage that we are at now is the very early stages. We're in the engagement stage, essentially, and today we are starting engagement with the public through, firstly, the municipality of Dawson Creek and the public here. And over the next few months, we will be doing a lengthy and exhaustive engagement process across the region where anyone who would like to have their voice heard may contribute to the process. So I have up on the screen here a map of the joint land use plan area with some things noted. So in Doig's original land use plan, the land is broken up in some ways into enhanced planning areas. So Doig's most important area within their land use plan is their Kootenay Tribal Park, which is that green blob sort of in the center that spans across BC and Alberta. The joint land use plan area is just in BC, but Kootenay as a whole does expand into Alberta. In addition to that, Doig has enhanced planning areas 2 and 3, which are areas of spiritual, cultural, and environmental significance that require enhanced protection, as their names may explain. In addition to that, in the lined purple area, in the bottom left, it's what's called a landscape pilot. So while this landscape planning process is happening, land use planning, a pilot is being done in the southwest of this area with the BC Energy Regulator and several oil and gas and energy proponents. The purpose of this pilot is to test how this will work in an area that has a varied level of tenure. So Doig and the BCER chose this area because there is a complex mix of tenures here, and it's a good way to really test the process and see how things are working. Like I said earlier, the reason that we're here now is to do engagement. And because this is a joint process, we're doing this joint with BC, Doig is, there are certain metrics and certain things that need to be met for it to be a provincially regulated or provincially approved process. And in addition to that, we want to get out early and ahead. We've heard in the past that engagement done by people has not been sufficient enough in this area, and that people are feeling like they need more information or more time. And so we really are truly trying to go above and beyond to conduct as thorough and as meaningful engagement as we can. And that includes meeting with municipalities where necessarily municipalities haven't been met with in the past. And we want to meet with municipalities, we want to meet with councillors, mayors, to make sure that they are informed and they can help answer any questions that their constituents may have, like today. The more that people know and understand, we're hopeful that the more people will be accepting of this process, because it is, we believe it is a good thing and very net positive benefit across the region. I'm not going to go into this slide in detail, but this is not a new thing for Doig in the Northeast. Doig has been working on landscape level planning and land use planning for a long time, and Doig rang the alarm bells a long time ago. It's only just recently with things like the Yahweh decision that the momentum has picked up, and that BC has come to the table in a new way, and that's part of this joint planning process. I think because it's recorded, I'll talk on KMA so that we don't have to do shuffling, but one of the core tenets behind this joint land use plan, and really just something that the Doig people very strongly believe and incorporate into their way of life is the concept of KMA. Chief Justin just spoke on this earlier today, but KMA can mean different things to different people, but it truly is just a good, unspoiled place in nature where people can go to recharge and reinvigorate and be healthy and connected to the land. Doig's way of life is intrinsically linked with the land, and the health of the land is intrinsically linked to the health of their people. And so because of that, finding KMA is very important to Doig, and is very much represented in the joint land use plan as a whole. I would like to have Sanjay take this slide and just explain a bit. Sanjay works for BC and is a partner in this.
Yes, so My name is Sanjay Tiwari, and I'm one of the planners for the Government of British Columbia. I would say that 90% of the BC's public land is covered with land use plans. We used to call them LRMP, Land and Resource Management Plans, mostly done in 1990s, and they were kind of very stagnant documents. In the last couple of years, we have come with a new concept of modernized land use planning, and they basically provide a framework for the governments and indigenous communities and industry and local communities to come together and make some very sound natural resource decisions. So that's the main gist of this engagement thing. And on behalf of BC, we want to highlight a couple of points. First of all, this is purely focused on the Crown land. Private land is not on the table to discuss this. And land use plan takes a lot of time to come into existence. And we are working with Doig River First Nation, and this is a joint engagement because we want to leverage the work which Doig River First Nation has already done for many, many years, and their relationship with different communities and public. So we want to leverage that, and that's why we are doing this joint engagement plan with them. There would be a lot of opportunities for communities and public to provide their inputs. When we are done with our engagement process, we would come up with what we heard report kind of thing. And there would be like other opportunities for public to provide their inputs through like surveys. We are also going to do a socio-economic environmental assessment. And in that assessment, we're going to do a couple of scenarios that will tell us that what those decisions are going to be. And as we move forward with drafting the land use plan, we will engage with the communities and general public and make sure that we hear from them and incorporate where as possible, their concerns and comments. So that's what the purpose of this joint engagement is.
Thank you very much, Sanjay, for that. Like he said, we are very early on in this process. We've just finished the initiation stage, and now we are starting with the development of the plan stage. So there's a lot of time, and there's a lot of opportunity for the public to provide feedback. Moving forward, I did already touch on Doig's EPAs. I just want to reiterate that Kitsadze is EPA 1, and is the center of Doig's cultural homeland and is a very cultural and spiritual place for Doig. I also did touch on the landscape pilot project, and I won't go too much into it again. We selected this area because there's a dynamic and challenging amount of different types of tenure in there, and it's a good case study or a good pilot to test how this will work. And it's been very collaborative and very iterative with the BCER and the proponents. And I did talk a bit on this as well, but what is the goal for joint land use planning? It will help us establish Kitsadze, and it will help us really refine that vision. And this planning phase that we're in will really I really hope that the public will become informed and engaged and really brought along in the process. We really understand that in the Northeast specifically, that people are very interested and they're very engaged, and we want to give people a good opportunity to comment. And how are we doing that? Well, as this slide notes, we have focused engagement going up until March 31st, 2026. So that's just the first slew of engagement, or that's the first bit of engagement that's going to happen. And out of that, we will develop a what we heard report and continue to iterate on feedback and continue to take feedback. But from now until March 31st, which is over 2 months, we will be doing engagement sessions like this with municipalities, holding open houses. We have a survey that's going to go live very shortly. And just any sort of way that the public wants to get involved and reach out to the planning team, they can do so. We're going to circulate a QR code and a mailing list. And if you're just anyone listening into this or just wants to get involved in the process, you can just give us a call and we'll set up a meeting, and we're happy to chat with you. That's my 10 minutes. That was pretty close, actually.
Wow.
Last slide, there's going to be a QR code there soon. The survey is, like I mentioned, imminently going to be released. It just needs a few finishing touches.
You practiced that?
I did not.
No? Yeah. Perfect. I just want to thank you very much for the presentation and for being here today. And you also did mention that you have chief and council here, so I know we did congratulate you earlier, but wanted to congratulate as well. And I didn't mention this earlier, but I want to thank you for the collaboration, especially the previous council as well. Like just a thank you for that, the great communication from the start, and just the relationship. The relationships continued to grow, and we look forward to working with this new council as well. So so thank you. Any questions? No? All right. Yeah, I guess if there's no questions, thank you very much for presenting. And for those that are watching, like you said, those QR codes are on there, but there's also access to this on our website as well and under our agenda. So, you did have a question, Councillor?
I was just going to make a note that I don't want to muddy the water and impose ourselves, but is there potential to share the link through our social media, or would that be, I'm looking at Melissa and she's giving me a nod. Okay, I don't want to be presumptuous, but to your point, we very much appreciate the early dialogue. And as you noted, there's a lot of people here who are outdoor enthusiasts. So anytime they hear that the provincial government is doing something with land use planning, their spidey sense goes off. And I think the earlier we can get the information in front of them and get them a chance to provide feedback, the more able we are to head off any miscommunications that might arise. And certainly, I, as somebody who's been in municipal government for 7 years and worked with the province, it's still very much an intimidating subject to dip your toes into when it comes to how to engage effectively with First Nations and each respective nation and its own thing. So for lay people out watching this on social media, I could just imagine how confusing it might be. So the more we can do to bridge that divide, I think the better. And thank you all once again for making the effort.
Thanks, Councillor. If there's no more questions, thank you very much for presenting, and we appreciate your time and coming in and educating, so thank you.
No worries. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, I'm just going to vary the agenda to 15 media question period, so Robbie, do you have some? Yeah, I'll hit you with a couple. Okay. We'll just have to wait till the delegation. He'll have to sit up at the delegation thing, so.
Yeah.
Well,
this is what you get for showing up, buddy.
Yeah.
Hope you learn your lesson.
Yeah. Just me, yeah.
Okay, good. You're doing really good.
Thank you, guys.
See you.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Chief. See you later. Yeah, you bet. Thanks for coming. See you Thursday here, so.
Thursday,
Yeah. Safe travels.
Will do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Nice meeting you. Congratulations again. Yeah, you bet. Yeah, just gotta push the button on that mic, Rob, and then I can turn it on. And you had a couple questions?
Yeah, sure. We'll go back to first two are number ones. It was a number Councillor MacDonald brought up, and then it's kind of reflected in the aquatics report. And I thought I misheard it, but 97,000 users last year, 2020, 2025?
Yeah, it's for the pool, yeah.
Yeah. That just, how does that number reconcile? Because if you're breaking that down over a month, you're looking at over 200 a day, 240. If you include the months closed, it pushes the daily number every day without closure to over 340. How is that 97,000 tracked, and is it reconciled in any way?
I will, pass that over to Ryan if he's got.
It just seems high on the surface to me as far as sitting in the pool.
Yeah, through your worship. So that's, attendance that goes through. So that would be, so we have paid attendance, right? People paying. We also have some care aides and organizations that support the swimmer and such. And so those would be people that go through the pool. So although it may seem astoundingly high, when we look back at our historical aspects of it, is that the pool is very well used. And I don't have the report right in front of me. I'll have to pull it up, but we do track it monthly. We reconcile the financials, et cetera. So the numbers are the numbers. That's true.
And it brings up a second question that I didn't have, but would that also include, if you're saying having a yearly pass, whether they use it or not? Does usage count in that metric, or is it just, does that count as 365 users, one annual pass?
Every time that they go in and they...
it is based on use, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Great. Other one was numbers, but more, and I'm not picking on the business, just more from that municipal development and development appeal lens. The Whiskey Pickle, the capacity is almost tripling. Granted, I haven't been in there in maybe a quarter, but has there been any kind of significant change to the inside of what we'll call the pub or bar side of it, to mitigate, to allow for that going from 26 to 70? And then my follow-up to that would be, is that 70 capacity based on the building, which is also the gym, and again, almost similar to the pool? That just seems like a lot of people to jam into what I'll call the pub side of the business.
Yeah, I'll let Kevin.
Yeah, so through your worship, it's I believe it's in the report, but there were architects involved, and so they, based on floor space and what's accepted for an assembly occupancy or that type of occupancy, is calculated, and that's what we rely on, is on the professionals to determine what that capacity can be. Will it be tight? Yeah, probably, based on what I've never been in there, but I've heard it's not huge, but. We've had the architects and fire, and so
fire has gone through. Last question, not related to numbers really, just because again it came up off the communications report being brought up off the table or off the floor, and I'll have to phrase this as a question here. Has council considered revisiting the city's newsprint bylaw that was quickly kind of excised in October of 2023, and is that something that potentially could be discussed in the future?
I don't remember anything on that. I don't know. I mean, we haven't recently, but would always look at everything. Yeah, go ahead, Tab.
Through your worship, to the media question, we have not looked at revisiting it, but that doesn't mean that we cannot look at revisiting it. And I guess the bylaw was in place after the newspaper closed, and so additional provisions had to be put in order so that public notice could be posted in accordance with the legislation. So it's something that we could look at if we were asked to do so.
Yep, for sure.
That helped.
There's everything. Yeah.
Okay. Did you have a question, Councillor Parsons?
Just to comment on Rob's questions. I quickly calculated in my head as well the 300 odd. But another factor is, if you look at it, the swimming pool is open quite a few hours, like I'm going to say in excess of 12 hours. So if you divide it by 12, how many per hour, right? And if it's a 12-hour, maybe it's a 14-hour day, I'm not sure. it gets to still be in the 30s, right? Or high 20s. Yeah. But sometimes it is absolutely, I think the capacity of the pool is 600, is it? In that order? So sometimes it is really unbearably crowded. But same with the whiskey pickle. I've been in there. It's a nice place. Once there was a time there, anytime I was in a bar, you seemed to be there.
That's right. They're usually at a political thing. So.
Oh, yeah, at that place.
I was
That's
there
right.
covering. I don't know what you were doing.
But no, likewise.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time conceptualizing 70, but unless they're allowed to drink standing up, because in the good old days of my life when I was University of London, I lived in pubs and they were very crowded, but you could stand up and drink. I don't know what the liquor laws are here in BC anymore, if that's allowed, but you can't, can you? You can?
Yeah,
It'd be a strange one to try.
You can stand up and drink?
Enforce.
Depends on the license.
Depends on the license.
It's a restaurant license, maybe not.
Yeah. Liquor primary, you can. Yeah, the number also needs to include staff, which I don't think they considered before too, so it's.
Yeah, so it'll be quite crowded with 70 regardless.
Yeah. Okay.
No, yeah, certainly if the development had no issue with it or fire, then I was just curious how that was going to look. When
Yeah.
you see 70 people in there. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to thank you, Rob, for attending.
Oh,
and,
for sure.
I know the last couple you've been at, we really appreciate it. And it's just nice to see you here and taking the time to come and come out.
Oh, you bet.
Yeah.
No, and I've had some councillors pass on the same sentiment, and
Yeah.
community, so good.
Yeah, no, it's great. So yeah, thank you. It's much appreciated. So.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Have a good one.
All right, I'm going to vary the agenda as well and go to 16, recess to close meeting. So 16.1 for agenda item 8.1, section 91E, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality. For agenda item 3.1, 7.1, and 8.1, section 91J, information that is prohibited or information that if it were presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Agenda item 3.1, 7.1, and 8.1, section 91K, negotiations and related discussion respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service at other preliminary stages, and that in the view of council could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they were held in public. And agenda item 6.1, section 91M, a matter that under another enactment is such that the public may be excluded from the meeting, and as well under the authority of the Community Charter, section 91J, information that is prohibited or information that if it were presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. In section 91K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of municipal services that are at their preliminary stages, and that in the view of the council could reasonably be expected to harm the interest of the municipality if they were held in public. So we're going to go into close to that. Anybody that's watching, will likely be about an hour, and then we'll be back in open to finish off the rest of the agenda. So thank you. A motion is Councillor Kemp, second Councillor Sudnick. Call that to vote. Vote is closed, and that's carried.
All right, Carl, back in your cage.
I'd like to call our regular council meeting for Monday, January 26, 2026 back to order. I just need a motion to lift 9.5 from, Councillor Earl, second Councillor MacDonald. I'll call that to vote. Councillor Earl, second Councillor Sudnick, or Councillor MacDonald, sorry. Two comments.
Now we're
sorry.
throwing darts, eh?
It's not coming up here.
Yeah, those in favor? It's carried.
Breaking down.
All right, and then I'm going to put a motion to recess the regular council meeting until Wednesday, January 28th at 9 a.m. We have a second? Second, Councillor MacDonald. Any discussion? Call that motion to vote. All in favor?
And opposed?
No, I'm in favor.
Favor? It's carried.
I was waiting for it on my screen. It didn't.
Oh, do you want me to do that one on the
No,
screen?
no.
Okay. All right, thanks, everyone. All right, I'd like to call the regular council meeting back to order. So I will pass it over to Kevin.
Is that all you have to say, Kevin?
We're done. Yeah.
So, Your Worship, a couple of scenarios that Melissa has there. She can just explain the difference between in scenario 4. And then if one of those resonates, Tab is prepared a possible motion for each. So I'll let Melissa just explain the differences between the two, just to be clear.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I guess I got to turn your mic on. Sorry, Melissa.
So through your worship to council, so column C there is the scenario that we talked right before taking a recess, is your allocating the PRA savings to reduce the tax rate by 1.3%. You're going to increase funding to the South Peace Arts Council by 90,000, which will be 0.375. It's just rounded to 0.38 up there. The ECDEV, you're going to fund from reserves plus top up the original budget cut that was made and give an extra 30,000. What that would mean is because we're taking 110 out of reserves, column C doesn't assign the existing $62,000 surplus. So theoretically, you're at a 62 positive, you're gonna dip in 110, and so you'll end up with a deficit of approximately 50 with column C. So you're not going to dip into reserves by the full amount. Column D, for consideration, what that does is it allocates the surplus as well of the 62,000 so that you'll be fully dipping into reserves the 110. And so it allows you to reduce the tax rate by 1.6% as opposed to 1.3, and that was one of the scenarios up above, and just whichever council wants to choose, but that's the difference between the two of them.
Okay.
But column C, you'll only end up with a deficit of approximately 50, whereas column D, you'll end up with a deficit of the full 110 dipping into reserves to fund that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Parslow?
So, this council, if they went with this, is really deferring a tax increase until next year. You're widening the fiscal gap, you're dipping into reserves, and we're saying here that under D, 1.6, under C, 1.3%, reduction in taxes is going to be covered by a windfall from PRA. So how does that situate us? How does that build strength into our next year's budget? We already know there's going to be an additional cost center next year. Some say 100, I say 200,000. I'm referring to the splash park. And if you don't get a windfall, you're covering stuff here by a windfall that you're not necessarily going to get next year. And so I'm just trying to draw your attention, not speaking to staff, to my colleagues here, that you're thinking short term, not long term. And that's just want you to, if I'm wrong, tell me how I'm wrong.
Through your worship to Councillor Parslow, what this scenario assumes is that ECDEV's option for that, I think a 2-year has been thrown out for a temporary, but it does assume it's a trial period, and so the expectation is going to be that reserves, or my understanding is that reserves would fund this for 2 years, And then council does need to be aware that, yes, if it's something that they want to continue, that then you can no longer use reserves, because then it doesn't become a trial period. It becomes something that's ongoing.
Councillor,
And so,
sorry to interrupt. Councillor Parslow is speaking to the increase in the PRA, not the.
I'm not talking to that.
Not the act dev.
oh, sorry
Yes.
about that.
Well,
So he,
I mean, I'm here. This is my last kick at the cap with budget, right? Because I'll be observing from afar next year. But I'm just trying to say to you guys, I'll be there with the Ratepayers Association that I will restart with a couple of the accountants in town who were on it, and Paul Javatkov and members of the South Peace Oilmans. But no, that's
just
that's
keep
BS.
to what we're.
But I'm just saying, I understand the reserve part, and I really think if the city does make some cuts, which I think it should do, you can easily replenish that reserve by the cuts. Easy wheezy. It's the PAA grant being used to reduce taxes. We already have a fiscal gap. It's widening the fiscal gap. And if you don't have a continuation of windfall, where are you going to find that 1.3% of foregone taxation that you say you need to have a balanced budget? You're saying potentially, well, we start off next year's budget by having to find potentially the revenue equivalent to 1.3%. We now have additional cost center. Inflation will be there. It's just sort of putting salve on this year's scenario to make it more problematic for you next year. But I could be wrong in my cursory analysis. If I'm wrong, please don't hesitate to challenge me. I don't care being wrong.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow.
So, through your worship to Councillor Parslow, so I apologize, I was, thought you were talking about the reserve part. So PRA, and that's, you're right, we did have an increase. Last year we saw a decrease, and so historically it has gone up by approximately 2%, but we don't know next year. It could go down, and if you're using this to reduce this year and it goes down, unless you can make cuts, you are going to have to increase next year. And that's why on Monday, during the original draft 2 budget discussion, I did say that with the increase in PRA, you can choose to transfer it all to capital. But I think we heard that, or at least I heard there was support on that. And so if that's a decision council wants to make and not apply that and avoid that risk potentially that could happen, that 1.3 could go away and we can move it all to capital. That's a decision council can choose to make.
Just one sec, Councillor.
They have not any reserves and things like that.
On this scenario, though, I mean, we don't know if it's going to go up or down next year. So if it stays status quo, we don't have to make that up next year, right? It'll be whatever that increase is. It was like last year, it went down a little bit. We had to make it. Like, we don't know what the PRA. Yeah. So we're not, yeah, okay. Thank you. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, I'm not a fan of column D. I like just column C, like we had talked about before our recess there. Understanding exactly what Councillor Parslow is talking about, right? If we left the tax increase at the 675, that would, give us a little bit more surety for next year, no matter what happens to the PRA. But I'm still very comfortable making the motion based on column C there with the 1.3, et cetera, et cetera.
Would you like to make the motion?
I'd like to make the motion. Can you make that a little bit bigger, please? I'm old. Oh, come on, I'm not his age.
There's something missing.
There it is. I'd like to move the council approve the following adjustments to be included in the draft 3 budget. A, allocating 38% of the increase in Peace River Agreement PRA funding to operating in order to support a 1.3% reduction in the municipal tax rate. And B, approving an additional $90,000 to the South Peace Art Society for a total of $130,000. And C, maintaining the expanded economic development scope position at a total budget of $160,000 for 2026, with a $110,000 increase over the 2025 budget funded from reserves, whereas an additional $30,000 is allocated to the economic development budget to restore the 2025 budget. And D, approving a net operating budget deficit of approximately $50,000 for the 2026 fiscal year. That math isn't mathing for me on C.
Or
Is
the
it?
year. Should it be with the 110 increase over the 2026 budget?
Because that should be a total of 150 then, should it not? The 110 plus 40 now?
No, because, oh,
Is that true, Melissa?
Sorry, I'm just trying to see behind the wording there. We were trying to just add the extra 30 and not change the first sentence. So the first number is correct. So it'll be 160 and that'll be for 2026. And then that's an increase of 110 over the 2025 budget, because the 2025 budget was the lower amount. And this is for the contract, and then an extra 30 allocated to really restore the amounts to what was in the 2025 budget.
oh, so it's restoring back to the 2025 budget.
So the
That's what-
2025 budget would have been 50,000 then though, right?
But it's restoring. Oh,
Well, we only made the decision to add the 30. So, I mean, we're going to get close. But, I mean, that was just one line item we were focusing on. But, I
Okay.
mean, there were approximate cuts of 50,000 made, not exactly 30, but
Right.
you're gonna get close to restoring it. Does that make sense?
Sure, right? 100%.
okay. So then it was good the way you said it. Somebody want to second that? Councillor Sudnick? Any discussion?
So, for me, like we talked about before, the South Peace Art Society and everything they do in this community, whether it's maintaining one of our prized possessions of the art gallery, whether it is enhancing the lives of 1,300 youth in this community annually, they are very, very valuable service to this community that I don't want to see go away. I think Councillor Parcel's points earlier about the mural project and possibly the rate of pay they are offering artists and artisans can be considered, hence not giving them the full 160 and taking it down to the 130. I think the economic development trial period being very specific project based is something that's very important right now for this community and possible growth and possible development of an airport, etc. And I believe that the mayor and council having a $40,000 budget to support events like the Koi Cup and Walking the Path of Justice, et cetera, opportunities in this community that bring huge economic benefit is very important as well. That's why I support this motion completely.
Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. I have just one question on the South Peace Art Society. So if we approve the 90, I'm under the understanding that we're still gonna want the 120,000 in the full package of services. So is that something that we need as a motion as well? Because or the 160, I guess it was. So they presented, yeah.
Yeah, so through your worship, I think if this was approved, then I think that's a discussion we have with the Art Society about this is the intent. And this is the intent of council, unless Tab thinks it's cleaner that we actually wrap it up in there. But I think, yeah, I mean, I think we know what the intent is that this funding goes, there's some savings on their side. And but the intent is that they focus on continuing to deliver, programming for youth.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. Just commenting on that, and I apologize because I did have to step out yesterday for a lot of that discussion, but does the 160 still include the mural project, et cetera?
Well, that's kind of separate, like Councillor Parslow said earlier.
Was it separate?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I just wondered if they're, with their full ask of 160 included the mural project, right?
Oh.
So trying to hold them to be able to do that when we're only giving them the 130, right?
The drop would be dropped,
Okay.
as would be the payment to artists. So that total drop takes it from 160 need to approximately a 120 need.
130, 120, yeah.
And
Okay.
so it's, there's no reason why any functionality of the art gallery would change for the program for children, artists, exhibitions, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Parslow. All right, any other discussion?
Yeah.
Councillor Parslow?
So I can support items. I can support B, C, and D. I do not support A. When I look at the impact of moving from taking off 1.3% reduction in municipal tax rates, which will have to be potentially covered next year, when I see the difference for 90% of the business community from that change is $3 a month, and the change for the vast majority of homeowners is a similar amount. So I'm not for digging a deeper hole or basing things on a hope that PRA is going to be another windfall or status quo for such a small difference. It's less than a latte a month for most people and most small businesses, 90% of small businesses, of all businesses.
Okay, thanks,
So I will be voting against this.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow.
But I enthusiastically support the rest.
Any other discussion? No? All right, I'm going to call this motion to vote. No.
No, you're not? What?
I'll explain afterwards. No, I'm not calling the vote yet because I'm unable to.
Oh.
Is what I was referring to. I still don't have anything. Do you want me to do it manually? Okay. I'm going to call this vote. All in favor? Opposed? It's carried to opposed. Councillor Apollonio and Councillor Parslow.
Can I raise one more budget issue?
Sure.
I guess it's just.
Do you want to push your button?
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Parslow?
I think this matter should be discussed fully, so I guess I'm asking that it be considered for the next council agenda. I fervently believe that we need to consider setting up a water pipeline budget function and transfer some operating funds to that. I fervently believe that we should be planning with the notion that whilst we will try to go and get 100% funding, reality, I think it would suggest that we would also be seen to be a contributor to it, and that we intentionally set this up, not only because we need to, but also I think if we come to some negotiations to show that we've done what we can, would be a helpful message for staff in discussing things. There's also potentials for us to add to that funding, perhaps, should it be the decision of council, from some water sales, etc., etc. But I just think just that adjustment sends a message. And I think would perhaps, don't take this disrespectfully, but it would cause us to analyze how are we adding to this. Are we thinking that we're going to have to pay something? And if we don't, well, fine, we can apply it to other needs. It's a good thing to do, I think. So I was thinking maybe I'm requesting that staff bring this matter to a future meeting, because you'll all want to think about it.
Do you need a motion for that, Kevin, or are you fine with?
So through your worship, maybe just ask a couple of questions. But so we have a water capital reserve. And Melissa says, I think in 26, the intention is to add just over 3 million, go into the reserve. So you go ahead and chat about that.
So through your worship, council, through the last two budget cycles, has made positive moves in that direction, and that we are clearing out any projected operating reserve and automatically transferring to capital. That's occurred through the last two budget years, which is a move in the right direction. So it all depends on water sales, though, and reclaim goes to sewer, but we've seen some fluctuations in that, but Kevin's correct. So 3.1 million is set aside to grow the water reserve fund in the 2026 budget. Now, yeah.
Grow it to what?
And so the discussion, or the question I would have, your worship, for Councillor Parslow is just, are you thinking a dedicated reserve specifically for this project, or because that limits then how, because what I heard you say is if we didn't need it, then we could spend it elsewhere. When you have a dedicated reserve, that can limit how you can spend it again. So we're just thinking about that.
Well, okay, my thinking is, and of course this would be adjusted by you to be legally and accounting-wise correct. When I was thinking about that, future sales, but I'm thinking that some of that operating surplus, not all of it, but some of it, can that be set aside for this emergency future expenditure if needed?
And that's the
be designated. So I just think if we have to find, I think I've said this before, that used to be a formula, federal, provincial, local, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. If we say it's 100 million, we need 30 million of our own. And I think it's the optics, and I think it's also would invoke a stronger discipline. If we had some I leave you to the fine details, of course, but it's just my notion if we see this, people see this large operating surplus, right? Well, it's there for emergencies and this, that, and the other, but can we not use some of that, designate some of that to this a potential pipeline, and without putting too many restrictions on it?
Right. So, yeah.
If you follow my drift.
Yeah, I think I hear what you're saying. The question is can we take, if we have, we are already putting any surplus in the water utility, that's automatically going into capital reserve, so that's good. What you're asking is if in the general operating, if there's a surplus, can any of that be transferred to the water capital reserve?
And if it's not, can a portion of it be set aside and eventually used for this project? Right. And I mean, Melissa, obviously I do not want, there are some things she can't do, but yeah. But you know, in emergencies, sometimes we have to try to, what's the word? Bend the rules?
Whoa.
Yeah, so go ahead, Melissa.
Through your worship to Councillor Parslow. So through the budget and accounting transactions, we can transfer money to capital, and that's exactly what we do with the PRA or utility bills, the infrastructure costs that we collect each month through water. They flow through the operating and then they transfer to capital. Where I would just need to do some research is historically or at least from my research and time being with the city, we haven't transferred tax income to a utility capital reserve. It's usually the infrastructure charges on the utility bills or direct revenue, like potentially reclaimed water sales, are transferred directly to the sewer reserve. Mm-hmm. So I just can't say with 100% certainty whether there's restrictions on transferring general taxation revenue as opposed to a utility function. Something we'd have to look into, but it's possible, and you just you can move funds where you need them. So that's my only one thing that I would need to look into.
Okay, so something that you can look into and bring back next council meeting? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Was there any other discussion? No? All right.
We don't need a motion to adjourn, do we?
So, Your Worship, there was, in draft 2, there was subsequent motions in there regarding paving.
But wasn't that to do with the capital or the PRA?
I'll pull that up.
The paving capital. Oh, okay, here.
Yeah, so, Your Worship, this came from draft 1 originally. So, options. And then also following that, I have a couple of options that you asked about what's next on the list for capitals.
Can you refresh our memory and tell us what the 2.8 billion was going to do?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't be able to list off the projects. Really what it boils down to is at the time, council was concerned about what the difference would be between going from a 10 million approximately a year to a 5 million a year program, and wanted to know, we knew that there was some savings throughout the last 4 years because we hadn't spent quite to the max, just the way the budget, that's good news, we came under budget. So there was some additional money. Is the 2.8 still the 2.8 or did that change? Just to be clear.
So through your worship to Councillor MacDonald, the 2.8 wouldn't have changed with the PRA. Really, that was taking a look back over the previous 4 years because council had allocated the extra 5 million towards paving plus the initial 5 we spend typically per year to create a 4-year budget of 40 million. When we looked how much we had actually spent in compared to that 40 million commitment, you could say, we were underspent by 2.8. So it's just council's consideration whether you want to allocate that, but then that is going to reduce your reserve balance, and I believe that amount was in the report. I'll look up that as well. We're usually right around 10 million within the general capital because that underspend is sitting within that reserve. So you can also just know that you've spent a little bit under that 40 million and move on, or you can reallocate that to paving facilities. I did note in the report the backlog on facilities is larger than paving, and so it's a consideration whether you would like to split, allocate total to facilities, or whatever you would like to do.
Yeah, so I guess the options are is we leave it in the reserve, or we spend it on a combination of priorities or specifically paving because that's where the savings originated from. And then I would just ask that if, depending on which option you pick, if you wanted to go towards projects, then we would just take that back and we would identify the next projects in the queue.
And I think for clarification too, like it's not really related to the PRA calculation, but it is, we are dealing with PRA is freeing up an additional capital investment of 500,000. So since this report, we knew that. So we could have two potential injections, but they're both independent, but you could look at them and know what potentially could happen with both combined.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Parslow.
Okay, this one thing I do not understand is the interface between this capital reserve and the capital asset management plan. We're trying to we have a goal, I think it's 2040 or something, of reaching a position there whereby we have sufficient funds to fund our capital asset plan. What I'm wondering about is every time we dip into the capital reserve, are we taking it out of that fund that we'd hoped with saving over time and interest would grow to a fund where we had a sufficient money to manage our capital assets? Are we depleting that, or now we are extending that happy time of when we do finally have, the city can say with some confidence we can manage our capital? And remember, if you think PRA is going to continue to 2040, I'd say you've just, well, I won't say anything more about that. But so seriously, is this depleting that, or is it a separate fund? I'm just showing my ignorance, but I don't mind showing ignorance because it's a very important piece of work that was done by this council, started maybe by others. So what is this? What's the reality here?
Through your worship to Councillor Parslow, if we could just scroll up one page. So this is our reserve detail, and so when we're talking about the general capital reserve, you'll see there, it was 9.5 million, but the asset management plan you'll see is 4 lines below, and so that is a separate fund that we are not touching, nor any recommendations, and that will continue to grow, and is outside of this motion that's on paving or potential PRA. We've had a history of not within the general fund on potentially savings. Any money that gets transferred from PRA, we allocate to projects and we spend, but we have done the work and we are starting to build up that asset management plan, and so the plan is to not touch that.
Beautiful.
And through your worship, I was just going to add that if when we're spending the money though on an asset, theoretically, we're also, it's that balance of saving and spending, because if you're spending, as long as you're not building something new, you are addressing the deficit in the asset. But
yeah, I knew that. I'd appreciate you saying that. But it was that actual fund I was wondering about. But yeah, I missed that, and that's fine. It's good for you guys. That will reap benefits galore to the well-being of this city. Long term, down the road, we'll see it. Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. So I guess one thing, I mean, we all know that our infrastructure is aging, especially paving, and I mean, that's why we put the $40 million in 5 years ago, right, was to try and catch it up, but realize that that's not going to catch it up, but it definitely helped. So I get understanding that, so the 2.8 was obviously not in a separate reserve, but because that bylaw or policy that put that 40 million in place was allocated around paving, you're just saying that 2.8.
Yep. We spent a little bit less than that, and in all the projects added up, it was, as you try and piece it together, we're underspent, so that's good. That affords it. Now, to keep in mind, we did the paving because, yes, roads definitely needed, and they are the most visible. That doesn't mean that there isn't other things that need it as well that are not visible or as visible. So often, that's what people focus on because it's what you drive on every day, and it's the potholes you hit and the things you see. But as Melissa pointed out, we have a greater deficit in facilities and some of the things there than we do in roads. So just to be aware of, it's the easy one to go to because it's what we see every day. And it's not a bad choice. It's just knowing that there are other choices too.
Well, and I guess, I agree with that too. I guess the other part for me is that the 40 million was for paving.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So that's the one caveat is that's specifically what it was targeted for. And so if that's what council wants to do, then that's fine.
Councillor Parslow.
Well, this paving program has really transformed some parts of our community that benefited from it. It's really had a good impact, very necessary stuff. But who am I? I'm sitting here thinking to myself with some of these options, who am I to decide whether the issues facing our staff around capital needs for facilities and paving, if there's some emergent problems with facilities that are not covered by existing budget, I think I would go the facility route. If it's not all needed, I'd be in favor of putting paving, but the balance, you know what I mean? That's why I think staff could they not, if council felt they needed to know each project, but I'd leave it, say 2.8 million to be spent either on paving or facilities at the discretion of staff.
Option 5.
Okay. Would you like to make that motion, option 5, Councillor Parslow?
Yes, I'll move that.
Okay, so the motion that he's moving is that council approve a combination of paving and facilities project allocation with a total funded amount to not exceed 2.8 million funded from the general capital reserves. Second, Councillor Sudnick. Any discussion?
I think that makes sense.
But I think does Darcy have something? The mayor.
Am I okay to call the motion?
Would this impact that 500,000?
No.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next, I think.
Pardon?
The 500 extra, through your worship, we'll talk about next.
Okay. I'll call the motion manually. All in favor? It's carried. Kevin, you wanted to touch on the extra
So-
500 from PRA?
Yeah, so through your worship, I guess we could look at it a couple different ways. It's an additional 500,000, just like this 2.8. So if council wishes, we can allocate it in the same manner, or if there's something specific council would like to target. So prior to this 2.8, I took a quick look with Devin and Ryan, just kind of like what's next. The 500 on its own is a little bit short for a couple of projects, but as an example, one project would be a multi-use path walking from 17th Street across Lepke Park over to where Rotary Manor and everything is. So that would connect that way. So that's one, and that's just over 500,000. We do have to look at some access because there's some private property and things like that. So we'd have to look at it. So there'd be some work to do there. Devin had a sidewalk project on 111th between 15 and 17, but that was a little over $600,000. But in combination with the 2.8, then we can start to mix and match some of that stuff. It gives a little more flexibility.
Could increase our taxes.
So again, if council wants to just have the same motion as what the last one is and just put it towards both paving and facilities and what the next priorities are, then that's fine. But if there's something specific, then just let us know.
Thank you. Councillor Parslow?
Well, again, this is a judgment call, but the immediate thing I thought of as an upcoming expenditure is that we set it aside for the cenotaph. I love the projects you talked about, don't get me wrong, but I can foresee Councillor MacDonald and all the other people who are involved in this project coming up with a design that will need some funding. So I just want to toss that out. I like those anything to improve walkability of the community is great. But so where's the cenotaph fit in the thinking of this?
You're good. Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship, and to Councillor Parslow. That is something I never thought of. I think that is a great idea. The cenotaph, we are meeting again next week to continue discussions. I think starting a fund for that now is a great idea and would give the project some surety when we're speaking with other entities in our region for support, etc. And I think I would fully support that 100%. Absolutely.
So does it, at that point, because we don't know what that dollar value is, does it make more sense just to put it in reserves and?
Yeah, through your worship, that's what I was thinking, is we don't know where that's going to go, but I certainly think that that's a good idea, because Councillor's right, that ultimately there's going to be a request for funding, and rightfully so.
No, and we've talked about it.
Yeah, and I think this just gives some surety to the planning of what, maybe is available to them to do, and I think it makes sense.
Okay.
Well then, sorry, I shut my mic off too. But as the Cenotaph Committee finds grants, available grants, et cetera, that they want to apply for, so often those grants are contingent on committed funds already as well. Yep. That puts the committee in a very good place for grant applications over the next 18 months to 2 years.
Yeah.
I think it's a phenomenal idea. And I thank Councillor Parslow for it, very much so.
So can I make a motion, perhaps?
Go ahead.
I move that the 500,000 PRA funds under question here be set aside in a reserve for the building of a cenotaph. Period.
Second, Councillor MacDonald. Any discussion?
I will call that motion. Vote. Manually, all in favor? That's carried. Okay. Anything else?
Do you have what you need, Melissa?
Yeah, I was working on
We're
it.
just,
I'll find
we're
the
just changing the
presentation.
presentation.
Do we have time?
Half an hour.
Has anybody said how amazing you are lately?
Well, through your worship, I think we got what you want, and yes, I agree. Melissa did a great job, and it was excellent to have those options, and I think it was helpful. Well, I think it was helpful for me. I was hopeful it was helpful for council. So, yes, yes. So thank you.
On the side too, there's a presentation that she's speaking to that we're doing in 45 minutes at the Chamber of Commerce luncheon, and she's adjusting that quickly. So. Okay, thank you, everyone. I'll motion to adjourn. Councillor Sudnick, second Apollonio. Call that to vote. All in favor? It's carried. Thanks, everyone.